And away we go.
You know what I appreciate? I appreciate consistency, and I would like to say you're very consistent. I think you should just do it on purpose from now on because, it's weird and kind of cool at the same time.
Anyway, hello. That was a tremendous start to the show, if I may say so myself. I twice in a row, absolutely knocked it out of the park. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, midweek, draft day eve, and I am just on a roll already. Hello, I'm Rob Brown. The pleasure's mine. Thanks for hanging out. Back in the network studio, in charge of button switches, levers, knobs, gears, pulleys, and other apparatus required to get us on the radio and make us sound this damn good. The great one, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate, Lonzo at the board. What up, Zo?
I'm just sitting here wishing I could make myself echo like that because, well, maybe I could.
You shouldn't. What, because of the whole want to keep people listening to the show thing?
Well, I think it conveys power when your voice echoes, like a voice of God type thing. I think it says, listen to me. I enjoyed it, and I wish I could do that, and I can't. But I appreciate your and it's a pleasure to be on the show with you.
Today, I consider myself why isn't it doing it now? Okay, it's not on my end, though. Because the button that I pushed to make it stop, I just unpushed it to make the Lou Gehrig. Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth speech, and it didn't happen. I don't understand how lucky.
More proof it's divine intervention. Or maybe there's an engineer listening, because whenever something goes wrong, and you want to show an engineer or let an engineer hear it, it never happens again. So,
welcome in, folks. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo is at the board today. So glad to have you along for the ride. Be a part of the show. 844-GSP ESPN 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show. Tweet us at Lonzo on Word. Tweet us at ESPN Upstate. And join us on all the social media at Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate or Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate. And the live stream is up and running. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the live stream is happening. Go to Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search us on the YouTube device at The Rob Brown Show. If you search us on the YouTube, search The Rob Brown Show, go full screen, and you can watch it just like a TV show. It's like all of the morning debate shows, Lonzo, except we're not as angry or wrong, which makes it better, if you ask me. Listen, I've got 100,000 things to get into today. The prep sheet is absolutely stocked full top to bottom. So let's not waste any time, Lonzo. Let's jump into that little song and dance we like to do to start the show.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented. You guys here?
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Lunch! Lunch!
It is the lunch breakdown. The three things you have to know before we start talking sports with your friend, family, coworker, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. This shall be the scuttlebutt around the table according to yours truly. We start with item number one on the lunch breakdown. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be having quite a bit of discussion about this today. I used to have this topic on the very short list of topics that were banned from the Rob Brown Show. A handful of topics that were not welcome on this show. Not because I didn't want to talk to you, not because I didn't care about your opinion, but there are just some topics in the world that are pointless to discuss on the air. And they are pointless to discuss on the air because no one's going to change their opinion about it, right? And college football playoff expansion, I should say, excuse me. College football playoff expansion is one of those discussions. I've said no. Why? Because everybody has a plan for expansion. I got a plan. Zoe got a plan. You got a plan. We all got a plan for how to expand the college football playoffs. But I've said for a hot minute, it's not worth talking about. Why? Because it ain't going to happen. So we can sit here and throw out all the plans we want. But at the end of the day, it's like me and Lonzo arguing about what color our Lamborghini is going to be. We have the best ideas as to what color it should be, yellow, but it's pointless to talk about them because we're never going to own one. We're never going to own one.
Metallic flake blue, without a doubt.
I don't hate the cobalt look. I just like to stand out. You know, if you're going to drive that car, you got to stand out.
Yeah, but mine says blue streak. Yours says, are you yellow?
Did you just Doc Holliday me? But now it sounds like the College Football Playoff Committee might be standing in the Ferrari dealership with the keys to their favorite in hand. The College Football Playoff Committee, met this week in Dallas, and they met to discuss both the immediate and long-term future of college football's marquee event. Bill Hancock, executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, explained the committee's process of potential change. They said, quote, in its analysis, the working group has reviewed some 63 possibilities for change. Those included 6, 8, 10, 12, and 16 team options, each with a variety of different scenarios. Since 2019, when the president charged us with taking a careful look at all aspects of CFP, including the format, this group has diligently evaluated options for the future. Its efforts were delayed as a result of the pandemic, but it met again this week in Dallas, and we look forward to hearing more when the work is complete. I want to remind everyone that whatever recommendations the management committee may make, all decisions about our future format, whether to remain at 14s or change to a different format, will be made by the 11 presidents and chancellors who manage the CFP. Now, that didn't really do much for me. I didn't really take a lot out of that. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot that I thought was going to make a big difference. I mean, they've been having these meetings with some regularity, and for the most part, nothing's really ever come out of it. But, ... Now, with one of the biggest voices in college football media has signified that he thinks not only is playoff expansion on the way, but that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Paul Feinbaum was on Jocks FM down in Mobtown, Alabama yesterday, and he said, and I quote, "We are definitely going to see an expansion before the end of this contract." That was clearly the subliminal message from this release Friday. When I first saw it, I got thrown off. By putting the 16 in there, you just said there's no way, they're just playing games. The closer you read it, the more you thought about it, it makes sense. I think this is a conversation really about not only the college football playoff, but about television. They're sending a message. We are at least willing to have a serious conversation before the end of this contract. Because of that, they've opened that door, end quote. We also have a handful of coaches. We know that Jimbo Fisher has called for an expanded playoff after his team was left out of the event last fall, finishing number 5 in the rankings. We know that Gus Malzahn, former Auburn coach, turned down to UCF. He said, quote, "I think what's best for college football is to get 8 teams. You see what's happening every year. Some of these really good bowl teams, they're not very important anymore because everybody talks about the Final Four. I really think it'll be a short period of time that 4 will expand to 8, end quote." So, there are now names. There are now names attached to it. When we come back in the next segment, we're going to get Nick Saban, who has kind of become the face of college football, if you will. We'll get Nick Saban's response to the Paul Feinbaum story. But Zoe, Feinbaum saying that he's relatively confident, saying expansion is not just probable, but is very much on the horizon at this point.
This is weird because we haven't heard any talk of this in quite some time. And I'm like you, I thought it was never going to happen. But the fact that there's noise out there, it might just happen. Of course, people won't be happy if it goes to 8 because number 9 will be unhappy, but 8 is better than 4, in my opinion.
That is looking like the destination we're headed down. We'll talk more about that in detail coming up in the next segment. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. To the NFL draft we go, as we are now just a day away from the start of the NFL draft. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, round 1. Live coverage right here on ESPN Upstate, your home for complete and thorough and comprehensive NFL draft coverage and analysis. We'll be airing the first round live tomorrow. It starts at 7 p.m. You can hear it right here on ESPN Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and all around the world on the Odyssey app. So, the NFL draft experts, Mel Kiper Jr., Mike Mayock, and a handful of others, have put together all of the rumors that are circulating right now about what they predict will happen tomorrow. I love you tomorrow. And on that list, growing discussion that the Carolina Panthers are angling to trade back. Scott Fitterer, the new GM, a longtime John Schneider lieutenant in Seattle, learned how to trade back the Seattle way for many years. The Panthers currently have 7 picks, but the rumor out of the ESPN experts is that they want more and are looking to trade back in order to acquire them. They also believe they can trade back and still get a premier player like one of the top cornerbacks just a few spots back. But if they can't find a dance partner, if they don't find anyone to trade back with, then it looks like Penei Sewell is their preferred pick, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. Now, there is a question about whether the Cincinnati Bengals might pass on a wide receiver in order to build a better line in front of Joe Burrow. There is also rumor that if Justin Fields does drop to 8, they will consider that move as they have him graded out very highly. But other GMs are telling Mayock, Kiper, and others that Carolina is all in on Darnold and is trying to leverage more picks in order to build around him, which sounds like a strategy, Lonzo, that someone very smart very recently said on the station was what the Panthers should do. Clearly, though, Scott Fitterer, big fan of the show.
As well he should be, because you can get all great instruction from this program, and can't wait to see them pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, that is banking. I've got right now, I think Carolina trades back, but a lot of it's going to be determined about what Atlanta does with number 4. A lot of it's going to be determined by what Cincinnati does and what Detroit does. And we go to item number 3. We stick with the draft here, and this will bring up and answer these questions in more detail. But there are a number of questions that the Carolina Panthers will either have to wait for answers for before they draft at number 8, or they will have to answer themselves before they draft at number 8. Here's a few of the questions, and again, we're going to answer these very briefly here, and we'll come back with more detail later on. Question number 1: do you want to go quarterback at number 8? And if Justin Fields is there, do you pull the trigger on the guy? So I gave my answer to that question yesterday, which is no. I think Justin Fields might very well be an NFL stud, but I don't think there's any more guarantee that Justin Fields will be an NFL stud than Sam Darnold. You've already gone on in on Sam Darnold. You've already said you're going to pick up his option. Don't bring in a pick, as good as he might be. Don't bring in a pick that doesn't make your team better. Justin Fields doesn't make your team better right off the get. Maybe he does in a year or two, but he doesn't make your team better right off the get. If you draft Justin Fields at 8, Lonzo, you've made your draft pick and your team hasn't gotten any better. And if that's the case, you didn't do anything to help Sam Darnold, which is a shame, which is unacceptable. So the answer is, I don't care if Justin Fields is available at 8. He's not the pick. Not because he's not going to be a quarterback, but because you got to get better with that pick now.
It pains me to say, but yeah, you skip on Justin Fields just because of some of the things you said, but mostly because you don't want a quarterback controversy. Unless you believe that he's better than Sam Darnold. If you believe that, then why in the world did you get Sam Darnold in the first place? You got to pass. And you got to also hope that and believe that somebody else, if he was there, really wants him, and you trade out of that and get some more picks.
Correct is the response there. A couple of other questions that I want them to have to answer. Number 2, you got do you gotta? I was gonna say you gotta, but I guess I'll ask it as a question since that's the whole theme here. Do you gotta go pick a wide receiver? During their pre-draft press conference, Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer pinpointed 3 specific positions they see as the deepest in this class. The first is wide receiver. The Panthers lost Curtis Samuel to Washington. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore are a solid 1-2 combo, but you are looking for that 3 guy. Jamar Chase is in this draft. He knows Joe Brady's offense from LSU. Alabama has a couple of rare talents in Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, both familiar with LSU. They played them a couple of times during their career. Terrace Marshall Jr., Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore, De'Ami Brown, all potential targets, and at least 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5, will be available at number 8. Is that too early for a wide receiver? Do you look into the second round for a wide receiver? I got some more answers for you, some more questions I want to see the Panthers answer tomorrow on draft day number 1, and we will get to those coming up in just a few minutes. But let's run to a break. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo on the helm. On the other side, Feinbaum says playoff expansion is happening, and sooner rather than later. But Nick Saban, not thrilled about it. We'll see what old Coach Nicky had to say next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your
All right, let's see what we got going on in the chat here on the stream. How about if you have the top 8, put them in a hat and draw out a bracket. So you want to randomly draw a bracket, Brian? It'd be interesting, right? It'd be interesting, but they're not going to do it. And the reason they're not going to do it is because there's a reason we seed top to bottom in brackets, and it's not just about competition off your. If you're one of the best teams, you get rewarded by playing an easier route through, etc. It's also about creating the best championship matchup, right? I mean, if you get, let's say, 2 of the top 3 teams knocked out in the first round because they lined up against each other, right? You draw instead of 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 5, you draw out 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. You're losing 2 of the top 4 right off the get. And while that would be exciting for general sports fans, not necessarily going to have people going absolutely bananas that aren't sports fans, and the TV audience is what they're all about. Matt, are you serious? Is this true? Hang on. I'm about to pull it up, Matt. I can't click on that link, so now I got to type it in one letter at a time. Unless, I don't know, man. I'm kind of nervous. Is this I'm assuming this is legit. I'm going to trust you here, Matt. If you make me regret this, Well, I won't be your friend anymore. BS UVHM ETX04. It says it's unavailable, but I also may have just typed it in incorrectly. BSUV HM ETX04. Matt, well played, buddy. Well played. That is not the actual clip, but absolutely hilarious. Here, I'll share it with the rest of you so you can see what I'm looking at here. This is a clip from one of my favorite television shows of all time, of course, The Office.
Oh, well, it's really nice to meet you, Brian. It's actually Ryan. Oh, Ryan. Bitch.
Yeah, so that's from The Office. Thank you very much, Matt. Not the clip I was going for, but still a great clip from a great show. Beautiful.
1 minute.
Beautiful. Steven says, in honor of National Superhero Day, what would be your top 10 draft picks? Top 10 superheroes? So I would argue that if you asked us to draft our top 10, I would need like a solid day of preparation to put that list together, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd need a day to put that together. I mean, I can give you some of them. Like I know Cap is going to be in my top 10. I know Iron Man's going to be in my top 10. Obviously, Batman's going to be in just about everybody's top 10. But I would need a thought. Lonzo's just showing off his number one pick right now. He stood up to display it for you.
Didn't say it was number one, but he's definitely in my top 10. Could very well be my number one, but I doubt it. 15 seconds.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on at ESPN Upstate. Rob Lonzo and you. Paul Feinbaum says yesterday on Jox FM down in Mobtown, Alabama, that he believes that the playoffs, the college football playoffs, will be expanding sooner rather than later. Says he believes that that we might have an 8-team or 12 or 16-team playoff sooner rather than later. Well, Nick Saban has responded to that, and suffice to say that old Coach Saban he's not exactly thrilled by the concept. He's not exactly on board with that. Here is Nick Saban in conversation with Paul Feinbaum when he was asked about the potential expansion of the playoffs.
Well, I think the playoff, as I said many years ago, when we first had just 2 teams in the playoff, and we expanded to 4, that the more playoffs we have, the less significant bowl games are going to be. So it's really not for me, and I don't think I'm even capable of judging how significant the positive self-gratification so many players get, so many programs get, so many coaches get for being able to go to a bowl game. And now everything is shifted to the 4 teams in the playoffs, and the bowls seem to be pretty insignificant. So I think if we expand the playoffs, you're going to see a continuation of that trend where the bowl games become less and less significant. And maybe these 2 things can't coexist. But if they're going to coexist, maybe we should try to, leave them pretty much the same. But I know there's a lot of interest in the playoff. But the other thing that I would be concerned about is, how many games should we really play? The SEC championship game, to me, if you look at all the years we played in, most of those games were playoff games. We were playing somebody in the top 5. And had an impact on who got into playoffs, who got the championship game. So you're going to eliminate that so you can have more playoff games, or we're going to play less games in the regular season so we can have more playoff games. I think there's only so many games in these guys. They're student athletes. They're not just football players. So I think some of those things have to be taken into consideration as well.
Oh, man. We always seem to start rushing to they're poor student athletes. Won't somebody think of the student athletes? Won't somebody just think of the student athletes when they want to add one more game in the playoffs if we go to 8?
How many games will they play if they make it to the NFL?
Yeah.
How many players on Alabama's team usually make it to the NFL? Just saying. And wait a minute. What? Make the bowls insignificant? The bowls are insignificant.
Thank you, Lonzo. Thank you. Thank you. I've been saying that for years. The bowls are already insignificant. All right? Your bowl game, unless you're in the playoff, doesn't matter. It is. I don't understand. Look, I'm sure, Lonzo, that back in the day, because every time we have this discussion, I get that call from somebody who goes, well, back in my day, the Big Ten Pac-12 matchup in the Rose Bowl, I mean, that was the granddaddy of them all, and that's fine. That's fine. That's great. But forgive me for being morbid. Sometimes people's granddaddies ain't all they cracked up to be. You might love your grandpa, but not everybody's No, I'm not saying you, Zoe. Relax. Some people's granddads, they ain't good people. All right? This old I don't care. The bowl games are irrelevant. They are irrelevant. This whole, they're going to make bowls matter. The bowls don't matter now. They matter to the kids playing because they get a trip in a swag bag. They get to go have a 3-point contest with the other team in a hotel ballroom in Duluth.
They also matter to the coaches because they get some extra practice time to prepare for the next season. But that's it.
Some bonuses, sure, they matter to the. But in the grand scheme of things, the bowl games, they don't matter. So when I have a 7-5 team taking on a 7-5 team in the Independence Bowl, does it really are the 2 7-5 teams playing in the Independence Bowl? Are they really going to go, oh, there's 8 teams in the playoff and now our 7-5 v 7-5 bowl game? Oh, how dare you, blasphemous. Now our 2 7-5 teams matching up are irrelevant. No, you already were. Every now and then you get a bowl game that matches up 2 good teams that didn't make the playoffs, and you go, hey, Zoe, here's a fun question for you. Last year, Texas A&M ended up number 5, just a bit outside of the playoffs. What bowl game did Texas A&M go to last year?
Orange Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good guess. It's correct, but it was a guess. You were hurting there to come up with the answer.
Really? I was right?
You were right. Texas A&M. Now, Zoe, who'd they play in the Orange Bowl?
I got to tie my shoe.
Yeah. Hey, did they win the Orange Bowl last year? The number 5 team in the country. Did they win the Orange Bowl last year?
Somebody's at the door.
Yeah, I thought so. The answer is yes. Texas A&M rallied to defeat North Carolina in the Orange Bowl. All right. There's a few of y'all that might know that. But for the most part, y'all didn't know. Y'all didn't care. And that's the Orange Bowl, y'all. That's the Orange Bowl. That's one of the big games. One of the important bowl. The bowl games aren't important. They're fun. They're great. As you can ask every woman I've ever dated who's dumped me because I watch too much sports. I watch every bowl game. I watch the 2 6-6 teams in the Bahamas Bowl. Why? Because I love football. Cool. And as a texter just said on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, bowl games matter for money. Bowl games matter for yes. The teams money wise get a little boost. But I got news for you, Nick. Even if we expand to 8 games, we're not getting rid of the rest of the bowl games, and the money's still going to be there. So, do you think there's a single football fan out there that's going to go? We have 8 teams in the playoffs, so now we have 4 games in the first round, 2 games in the second round, and a championship game. And therefore, because we have just added 4 games to the bowl lineup. By the way, you're not adding any amount of games to the actual number of bowls played every year, right? It'll just be now the big 4 bowls are all playoff bowl games. Do you think with having the same number of bowl games as we had last year, the same number of bowl games, except 2 of them are now a quarterfinal instead of just a random arbitrary bowl game. So do you think there's any football fans that are going, well, now that there's 2 more playoff games, I have to stop watching all the other games because they're irrelevant?
Yeah, I don't even think the old grandpas that you were talking about earlier would say no to that.
Yeah, it's a bad thought. I'm sorry. With all due respect, it's a bad thought. Nobody's going to watch less bowl games because 2 more of them are are playoff games in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, you're not adding bowl games, right?
No.
I mean, you're still playing
just
them.
Changing 2 from being bowl games to being quarterfinal playoff games. Same number of games. And the other games are that whole, it's just making the other bowl games irrelevant. They're already irrelevant.
So says the guy who's been in the playoff like almost every single year since it's existed, so he doesn't know what it's like to not be in the playoff.
Texter just said, Zoe, to that end, Texter just said, and the texter is dead on correct on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Texter just said, quote, it almost feels like this was Nick Saban saying, bless your heart to all the schools that suck. He doesn't actually care about the expansion because he'll be in the top 3 forever. He just doesn't want his odds of winning the championship game to be messed with. Yup. That's pretty much it. Nick knows if they add 2 more teams, that's just 1 more game against a good team between him and a title. That's it. And I wouldn't be shocked, Lonzo. Not that I'm putting him in the same boat, but I wouldn't be shocked when somebody gets Dabo on the record in the next day or 2. I wouldn't be shocked to hear Dabo Swinney say the same thing.
Because he cares about the kids, of course.
Yeah. So won't somebody think of the student athletes? Say the teams that are perennial playoff contenders, right? And Nick Saban a number of years ago, and here's how I know that Nick Saban's going to say whatever's best for his team, not for college football. And I get it. I would too. Number of years ago, Nick Saban said that he wanted to get rid of the no-huddle offense, the fast up-pace aerial offense. He wanted to get rid of it. It's bad for college football. And then 2 years later, Nick Saban had Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And you know what kind of offense Alabama ran that year? Fast aerial upbeat. That's why you've seen the flood of wide receivers coming out of Alabama into the NFL the last few years. The Calvin Ridleys, the Julio Joneses, the Devontae Smiths, the Jalen Waddles, etc. It's because Saban went, oh, you mean I can win more by doing that thing that I said was bad for college football? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
What would you have thought if Nick Saban said, you're asking me that question? Do you know who we are? We're Alabama. We take on all comers. It doesn't matter. We're going to win anyway. Would you have been okay with that?
Respect.
I would love to hear that, actually. There would be a lot of critics for that, though. But so.
Respect. So the same way I sound when I hear a UFC champ who says, I'll fight anybody. My respect for that guy goes through the roof. Versus the guy who goes, yeah, I don't really want to fight that guy. He hadn't earned it yet. I hadn't earned my respect to fight me. Dude, you're a champ. Fight. That's what champions do. They fight. Nick, you're the heavyweight champion of the world, bro. You're not supposed to be afraid of anybody, and that's the way that it comes across. That's the way it comes across. Your thoughts welcome. 844 GSP ESPN 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307 71307. Do you think that this is a bad idea? A good idea to expand to 8? And do you think Nick Saban has a point? Or is he just protecting Alabama? Quick break. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and
You have an Upstate golf cart. Next break. Your guys' political argument makes no sense ever.
Your guys?
Yeah.
What guys?
You and Mark and Mike.
Oh. What do you mean they make no sense?
Well, let's be vague. If I take something that prevents me from getting something and someone else doesn't, then I'm protected and they're not. That's their business. I'm protected even if they have it. So why does that stop things from going forward?
The reason it stopped things from going forward, and again, so for the people, and I don't mind. I mean, though it's up to you. I don't mind having this conversation openly in the public on the stream. We're talking about over on Twitter vaccinations. Mark Ryan
30 seconds
is saying he's for compulsory mandatory vaccinations. Stathakis is saying not. And I don't know if he's not going to get one or not, but says that people who don't want it's fine. I'm saying I'm not for mandatory, but I absolutely think everybody should get them. It's about protecting the people who physically cannot get a vaccination. They just can't.
These pathetic junkies. Come on, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you. This is the Rob Brown Show. Texter says, quote, yes, expand the playoffs. Saban can suck it. Today, by the way, Lonzo, the 23rd day or 23rd year to the day.
I knew you were going to tie it in because I heard what you were listening to earlier.
Perfect. Today, 23 years ago today, Degeneration X, led by Hunter Hearst Helmsley, raided a WCW event and basically sealed the fate of that company. We're going to talk about that in the third hour of the show. Absolutely. So Saban says that he is not in favor of expansion, and there are a lot of folks that have said they are. I am one of those. Zoe, I believe. Zoe, just to get you on the record officially, you are in favor of expansion, correct?
Yes, I am.
Thought so.
For anything, for the most part, to let all the complaints go bye-bye. Because, I mean, however you get there, you've got, 5 major conferences, and then you figure out the rest. Do you have automatic bids? If you win the championship, you're automatically – there's so many avenues you can go on how you get in. But there will be a lot of complaints that we hear every year go by the wayside because they won't be able to complain anymore. And I think it'll be more interesting, and I think it'll be more fun, and it will make some of these bowl games more relevant.
There will be complaints because, Lonzo, there are many traits that flow across all of humanity. And one of them is we'll find something to complain about in every situation we come across. And maybe there'll be new complaints. Maybe there'll be some new things to be angry about. But we might be mad about something else later. Is it a good reason not to fix something that's wrong now? Right? It's you don't go, Zoe, I got a hard time paying my bills right now. If I go out and make a bunch of money, though, then I got to deal with taxes and I got to deal with, people asking me for money. And I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with those problems. So I just deal with the ones I have. No, you fix the problem and then you fix the next round. They're always, everything you do, new problems are going to arise, whether it's college football or your personal life or whatever. Fix the problems that are in front of your face now and deal with the next round of problems next. That's what we ought to do. Right? The problems right now are that every year we get a team or two that are left out. Every year we get a team or two that are left out. So fix the problem to where we don't have to worry about it. Every year. You want to hear the big problem that I've heard a lot? I don't necessarily buy into this as a huge problem, but there are a lot of folks who think, it's the same 5 teams. It's the same 4 teams every year. It's always Ohio State. It's always Alabama. It's always Clemson. And then you get a rotation in of, Notre Dame or USC, or not USC, but, whoever else. Cool, man. Well, then throw 4 more in there. Give 4 more teams a shot. And maybe we see some of those teams. Hey, look at Clemson. I'm sorry. I'm going to use you as an example here. But there have been arguments. Mark Ryan is a big proponent of this argument. Clemson doesn't really have all that much competition in the ACC right now. They just don't. FSU's not competing. The North Carolina is going to be better this year defensively. Watch out for them. But it's not like there's a ton of competition. So Clemson, who is a very good football team, also faces very little competition. Clemson didn't face the competition Alabama faced last year. Heck, they didn't face the competition Ohio State faced last year. How'd that work out for them in the playoffs, right? Not great. Not great. What would happen if you threw a couple more teams from the SEC and the Big Ten in there? teams that were really good but just fell up just short of Ohio State or Alabama. Now, you can make the argument, oh, you already lost to Alabama, you don't get a second choice. Fine, we can deal with that. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. But the handful of problems that we have talked about regarding the playoffs, expanding it fixes it. And your problem of, oh, there's too many games, the bowl games are relevant, not an issue. Oh, these guys are going to be, we're adding one game. By the way, Lonzo, we're adding one game to two teams. The only two teams that are going to have one more game are the two teams that make it to the championship. If you lose in the quarterfinal, you played a bowl game. If you lose in the semifinal, it's the same amount of games that you would have made if you made it to the championship game in the or in the 4-team format. And if you make it to the championship game, we have added one game. A single game has been added.
So this is more arrogance from Nick Saban, because he knows he's one of the two teams that's going to get an extra game. So again, as someone who's been in the playoffs all this time, he knows that he's one of the teams that will be affected, and all those other teams will not.
Yeah. The only teams that have an impact here or will be impacted here are Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, because now they got to win one more game in the playoffs. And what's the words here? What a phrase I'm looking for. Don't care. I don't care. Do I think Clemson would have beat Texas A&M last year? Yes. Would I have guaranteed it? No. And don't tell me there's no chance, because Ohio State smoked Clemson. You don't think Texas A&M was in the ballpark? They took Alabama to the wire. You don't think they could have done it with Clemson? Of course they could have. And heck, who's to say how many of those independent schools or smaller conference schools that won undefeated and didn't get a shot, who's to say they wouldn't have made a... Who's to say a Coastal Carolina, obviously they lost, but who's to say a Coastal Carolina couldn't have made a little noise? Heck, Zoe, even if a Coastal Carolina gets in there and they only win the opening round game, the quarterfinal game, if they make it to a semifinal, that is a program-changing achievement for a small school. And it's still a challenge for them to get there. There is no drawback here, Nick. All your arguments are not good. How many games do these guys have in them? Only two teams are going to play one more game. Only two. The rest will play the same amount of games, or the amount of games they would play if they made it to the championship out of the 14 playoff. That's it. That's all. Won't somebody think of the student athletes? Yeah, we did. And we want to give more of them a chance. We want more of them to have a chance at a trophy, not just you and Dabo and Ryan and one other consolation prize. That's what we want. Quick break. Back up to finish hour one. Rob Lonzo and you. ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
The 2021 Upstate Golf Cart is on sale now. Good weekend this weekend. Y'all got some soccer Saturday night. Then on Sunday, your boy is hitting the links for my next round of golf on the 2021 Upstate Golf Cart, and I cannot wait. You should join me, folks. It's very simple. All you got to do is go to upstategolfcart.com, upstategolfcart.com, and right there, you're going to be able to pick up for just $99 the Upstate Golf Cart, which gives you greens fees to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9 of the most premier upstate golf courses in the area. That is less than $15 a round, less than $1 a hole. You would, let's be honest, man, it would be economically inefficient to not buy it. All right? Buy one for you, get them as gifts, pass them on for birthdays or Father's Day or whatever, Other's Day, whatever, Tuesday, whatever day you want to celebrate. Get it now, though, because supplies are limited and they will sell out. Go to upstategolfcart.com, upstategolfcart.com. It's the 21 Upstate Golf Cart.
From the 106.3 WORD Weather Center, here's the Upstate's most trusted forecast on ESPN Upstate. Mostly sunny skies this afternoon, a high around 84. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 63. Thursday, sunny, high of 86. And Friday, a slight chance for rain, a high of 78. For the weekend, we'll see highs in the 70s. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on ESPN Upstate. Currently,
to answer the question in the chat as to who is the hands down number one superhero, Lonzo, the answer is Zion Williamson. Or as we have taken to him, Xanos.
That's kind of a non-answer, and but that's fun.
It's Cap for me. It's Captain America. It's Captain America, partially for the reasons that you mentioned, right? Like the premise of setting an ideal we should all strive to, which got very philosophical in your answer there, Lonzo. At the
well, I could get even deeper, and I have, about the reasons why people love Batman over Superman and people scoff at Superman, and it's because they know what they are and they don't like being reminded of what they aren't. And you know, when you see, like I said, an idea, someone that you should strive to be, but deep down you know that there are too many things that would stop you from doing it because you enjoy the darkness just a little too much. We can get really, really into this, but and there are some people I've had this conversation with who will get downright angry if you point this out. It has nothing to do with it. Well, you know, explain to me why I'm wrong.
We're gonna have to do a philosophy Zoom one day. So the only reason it's not Superman for me is really less the fault of the character and more the fault of the people who have created him, in that he's OP, man. He's overpowered. Like every problem that comes up, Superman's got a superpower to fix it.
Yeah, but then there's different versions of kryptonite that can mess with him, and kryptonite can kill him. So he has a weakness. You cannot be overpowered. If he's so overpowered, how has Lex Luthor survived all this time?
Because Lex Luthor has to rely on everything up here to figure it out, and he does, which is why Lex Luthor is one of my favorite bad guys. Think about it. Lex Luthor is the sworn enemy of the one guy who can't be beat by anything except one special rock that you have to go to space in order to acquire.
Well, if
you figured out how to beat that guy,
say if you read Dark Knight's Metal or Death Metal, you would find out that Superman is not as OP as you think.
I think there are some offshoot stories that they had to power him down because they realized if we left him where he's always been, the story's boring.
Story's not boring. The story's excellent, and there are parallels to other things. And again, I wouldn't say there's vitriol when you talk about Superman, but there's something in there, something underneath that really bothers you about Superman. 30 seconds.
Relax, Dr. Freud.
Not a comparison I ever want. Ever.
I'm gonna disagree with you on this whole. You don't like him because you want to be him and you can't do it, and it reflects your inner demon. Not really. I think he's hokey. Like, I think you can be a really good person without being like cheesy all-American boy.
Well, there are also parallels to other things, and which is another reason why I like Superman so much. But
give me Iron Man. If I am a hero, it's Iron Man, man. Just poor. What's poor Iron Man?
Come back.
Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonso and you, 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776. Coming up in the next hour, we're going all draft talk in the next hour as it is draft day eve. All draft talk all hour long. Get your questions lined up. You got questions about your team, whether it's who you should pick, what positions you should be looking at, et cetera, et cetera. My draft guide is up and ready for you. We can talk about all 32 teams or any one of the 32 teams. We'll spend some time talking Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tampa, obviously, as we're here in the footprint of the NFC South. I know we got some Jets fans, some Bills fans in the hood. We'll talk about them. Some Steelers fans, we'll talk about them. But I also know that we've got folks from all over the country that live here and listen to ESPN Upstate, folks from all over the country who want to hear about your team. So shoot me a text, 71307. Start your text with ESPN Upstate. Tell me your favorite team and any questions you might have about them, and I'll give you my best shot. That's coming up in the next hour. Then in the third hour of the show, you ever been let down by one of your heroes? You ever been let down by one of your heroes? Because Dr. J just let me down. I'll tell you what he said, because I got to tell you, I think Dr. J is kind of a troll. I think he's genuine in what he's saying, but also not. I'll tell you what I mean by that coming up in the third hour of the show. We'll wrap it up with Twitter chat. Listen, it's going to be a busy back 2 hours of the show, but next hour, it is all draft talk. Start to finish, top to bottom, we're talking about the draft. So get your questions about your teams ready. We're going to take a spin around the NFC South to get it kicked off, start building up to what the competition is for the Panthers in the division in the next season. We'll talk about some of the rest of the teams and more. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the controls, and you are listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Back right after this. I would have to pick Captain Marvel as my number one, as she contains her own power, whereas Superman gets his from our sun. Thoughts? I love Captain Marvel. I think Captain Marvel is a phenomenal superhero. Carol Danvers is a great superhero. I do like superheroes though that have to. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. That have their own demons, that have their own struggles. I think they're more realistic, right? I think that's one of my big things with Superman 2 is that I can't really relate to him, right? Like, it's easy. Yes, Superman could absolutely be a despot, right? Who just runs everything and becomes a world dictator, and he doesn't. But that's not something to celebrate. That's just baseline humanity. Like, I don't celebrate every person who doesn't want to be an evil dictator who runs the world. That's nothing to celebrate. That's just what is expected of you. I think we got to get past the point where we celebrate things that are baseline expectations for people, right? There's no demons with Superman. The only thing Superman has is the sadness over losing his people, which is totally understandable, but it's not like that's like something that's going to challenge his brain in a way that he has to overcome it dramatically. Like he's give me an Iron Man who has legitimate real demons and mental diseases that he has to fight through in order to become more than just a dude.
Warning.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Locked down.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What up? Rob Brown, Lonzo, hashtag Dad Kicks, Colonel Grudge, the great one, here on the show with you. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app. AUDACY Odyssey is your home for all the news, sports, music, podcast, whatever source of entertainment you want. Audibly, Odyssey is your home. Plus, you can listen to ESPN Upstate around the clock, including our live local programs, The Rob Brown Show with Lonzo and me, Offsides with D-Slim, Mark Ryan, every single day right there on the Odyssey app. Coming up in the next segment of the show, head coach of your Greenville Triumph, John Harkes, is going to join us to talk a little bit about the 1-0 win that they got against Richmond this past weekend and set you up for the Triumph's home match this Saturday evening back at Legacy Early College, 7 o'clock, right back there at the LEC. Very excited about that. Head coach of the Triumph, John Harkes, joining us in the next segment of the show, so make sure you stick around for that. Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's get into some other stuff. NFL draft. Zoe, open mic, freestyle this bad boy. Tomorrow night, the draft ends, round number 1 in the books. Carolina Panthers fans will be blank. Fill it in.
Split right down the middle by the decision that is made by their team.
Ooh.
We cannot satisfy everybody. No one can satisfy everybody. So if they trade back, there are going to be people who are going to be mad and say, this player was available. Why didn't you take them? And then if they take a player, like say they do take Justin Fields, who's there, why would you do that when you had Sam Darnold? Why would you take a receiver when there was a lineman there? That's the cool part about the draft, is that there's going to be someone out there going, no, why'd you do that? There's only going to be one team where everyone's going to be, okay. And that will be the Jacksonville Jaguars, unless they did something that would shock the entire world for years to come and did not go with Trevor Lawrence.
If the Jags don't go with Trevor Lawrence, Lonzo, which they absolutely are. All right, it's the only guarantee in this draft is that the Jags go with Trevor Lawrence. I don't even think the Jets taking Zach Wilson's a guarantee. But if the Jags were to pass, right? Like, what if they had one of those moments where they go, They could, I think. So here you go, Zoe. There's another report coming out. We're going to talk about this later in the show. There's a report coming out that the Houston Texans, remember a few months ago, before all the allegations when we were in Deshaun Watch 2021, bum. Remember how the Texans organization was out there adamantly saying, we will not be trading Deshaun Watson. It ain't happening. Stop calling us. You ain't getting him. Well, Lonzo, there's now a report out with a couple of big names attached to it that wasn't true. Gasp. The Texans lied about something? I am shocked, personally. The rumor was that there were 8 teams interested in Deshaun. There were 4 or 5 of them that were willing to make the blockbusteriest blockbuster move of all time. And that the Texans were setting up a bidding war between those handful of teams. And their baseline expectation, Lonzo, was 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and a smattering of late-round picks over the next 2 or 3 seasons. Now, if Deshaun Watson, Zoe, can get 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and a smattering of late-round picks over a couple of years, Trevor Lawrence can get 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and a smattering of picks over the next couple of years. Would the Jags be willing to roll the dice? The answer, Zoe, is no. And the reason why the answer is no is because Urban Meyer. Herb doesn't take that job if Trevor Lawrence isn't the guaranteed pick. Herb wants a guy who's fresh out of college, who can run his system, who hasn't got the NFL attitude beat into him yet. He wants a guy that can run Herb's offense. If Herb doesn't know the Jags are number one and that TL16 is coming out of Clemson, then Herb doesn't take that job. If the Jacksonville Jaguars take anybody or do anything other than draft Trevor Lawrence at number one, Lonzo, I have only 2 or 3 times said just go ahead and disband the franchise overnight, right? Just sell all the gear, knock down the stadium. But if they don't take Trevor Lawrence at number one overall, sell all the gear, knock down the stadium, because that'd be the dumbest move in the NFL draft since the Saints traded 50-11 picks for Ricky Williams.
Yeah, but we did get to see Mike Ditka in the Dreads wig, which was just completely awesome and will always be awesome. No, that's what I'm saying. The Jaguars that's the only team that everyone, you can't say everyone, 99% of their fans are going to be happy. There's always those guys out there like Dallas Cowboy fans. I'm not being mad, but I know a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans, they're never happy no matter what. And
they're Cowboys fans.
Yeah, well, there's a part of every fan base that will be upset no matter what. And so you cannot satisfy 100%, but the Jaguars are going to be the closest out of any of the teams out there to having the majority of their fan base being happy with their pick. Everybody else is going to find fault with it somewhere. So the Panthers, we'll see what happens. Hopefully whatever pick they make will be one that gets the majority of the fans excited.
Carolina fans. So here's what we got. I asked Zoe the question. When the draft's first day is in the books tomorrow afternoon, Carolina Panthers fans will be blank. Lonzo says split right down the middle. And I'm a little frustrated with you, Lonzo, because I wrote down that question on my show prep and I filled in the blank. And do you want to know what phrase I wrote down in the blank?
Split right down the middle.
Split right down the middle. Exactly right. There is no consensus pick or move for the Panthers. I, for one, I think you trade down. I think there's enough quality and value players at number 8 that some will get pushed down into the teens at positions Carolina needs, and they can pick up a few of the draft picks that they gave away for Sam Darnold. However, I like the pick of Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman out of Oregon. Fills a great need for the Panthers. Protects the investment that you have in your brand new quarterback in Sam Darnold. It's a great pick. Wide receiver, if there is a Jamar Chase, a Devontae Smith, a Jalen Waddle on the board. And those are probably the only 3 I like at 8. But if there's 1 of 3 on the board, I like that pick. Open up that offense. Yeah, Sam Darnold's going to need some offensive linemen. I agree with you. But you can draft those later on down the board. You go get him that 3rd wide receiver. You go get him that guy to stick out there alongside Moore and Anderson to create that electrifying trio. All of a sudden, that offense with Run CMC out of the backfield looks a lot more dangerous. I like that quite a bit. So, with all of that being said, I don't think there is a pick that's going to make every Panthers fan happy. But here's the good news, Lonzo. The good news is I don't think there are any picks or moves that Carolina can make that will make fans mad, right? I don't think there's anything that can make fans mad. I don't think there's a wrong pick. If they go Sewell, even if he's not the guy you wanted, you understand he addressed the need. Even if they go Chase, Waddle, or Smith, maybe it's not the pick you wanted, but it fills a need. If they go J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain II at number 8, maybe it's not the guy you wanted, but it fills a need. I think the good news, it's a good news, bad news scenario for the Panthers, Lonzo, in that there's probably going to be 6 guys on the board at number 8, all of whom fill a need all of whom are a good pick. Problem is, it also tells you there's a lot more holes that you're going to have to get really honed in on later on in the draft to fill spots. And that's not great. But the good news is they're going to want Panthers fans are going to leave the draft tomorrow when coverage around one concludes, though. Split down the middle, but none of them will be angry about the pick. And I think that says a lot about where this team is.
I think the other thing is what are your expectations for the team this year? I mean, if you're expecting championship, then you want them to go for that home run and get that one last piece. Or if you're realistic and realize that this team is rebuilding and has a lot of holes to fill, and then suddenly they trade out, get a couple more picks, and start filling in all those holes, that'll definitely make a lot of people happy.
844-477, there was. I forgot the phone number for like a half a second. My mind blanked. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. A couple of texts that have come in so far at ESPN. Why has Justin Fields dropped in the draft so much? I personally feel he is tied with Zach Wilson for the second best QB in the draft. That's from our buddy Maddox. Maddox, what's up, big dog? Appreciate you texting in, man. And that's a great question, Maddox. I don't know, Mad Dog. I don't know. Zoe and I laughed hysterically yesterday when Chris, I need attention, Sims had him all the way down at number 32 going to Tampa Bay, which is, what's the word I'm looking for here, Lonzo? Stupid.
Stupid, yes, yeah. That's the word I was thinking of. Yeah. Do you think that it's possible that the school that he plays for factors into why he's dropping? Because classically, Ohio State hasn't really put out that crop of quarterbacks, although they have really good college quarterbacks, but they haven't put out that crop of quarterback that translates to the NFL.
I would guarantee you there are 2 or 3 GMs around the country right now that are going, Ohio State quarterbacks fail at the next level. Guarantee you there's 2 or 3 GMs. But I got to think there's 28 or 29 that are going, that's a really dumb reason to pass up on a guy. That's why he's not falling to 32. It's a really dumb reason to pass up on a guy. I think there are some folks, yes, that are probably worried about the even though it's something that's been treated and hadn't had issues, probably some folks worried about the epilepsy considerations. I think Dan Orlovsky didn't do Justin Fields any favors when he came out and said, we question his work ethic. I don't know why he would say that. I think that's why Justin Fields had a second pro day so he could show, hey, if I didn't have a work ethic, I could have slacked off. I had my pro day and slacked off until the draft, but I'm in better shape today than I was during draft pro day number 1, which is silly that he had to do that, but it's smart that he did it. I don't know, Zoe. I have no answer. I've been wondering myself. I can see Justin Fields maybe dropping down to 10, 11 at absolute latest, but the folks who have him dropping down in the 30s to me ought to be fired on the spot. 844-GSP-ESPN. 844-477-3776. Let's run to a break. When we come back, John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joins us here as we do our weekly Triumph segment. That's next on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
All right, soccer time. Let's see. New York Jets will take Wilson, trade him to Houston for Watson. Nobody's touching Deshaun right now, big dog. And I'll tell you why nobody's touching Deshaun. Number one, Deshaun's going to get I'm going to call it at 8. He's going to get a 6 to 8 game suspension for next year for behavior unbecoming of a player. That's going to factor into if anybody will make that move for him. Second off, Deshaun won't get moved until the court cases are settled. If they get settled and he settles out of court and he's not in trouble, then there is a chance at that point that a trade gets made. But until his issues are settled, he ain't going nowhere. Ryan says, would Carolina trade down with the Patriots if a QB slides? I'd take Fields if he's still available then. Would Carolina trade down with the Pats if a QB slides? Yeah, I think that's in the game plan. In fact, I think that might be part of the game plan. So I said yesterday, if you are Carolina, you are hoping that Atlanta takes Kyle Pitts. You don't want Kyle Pitts in the division, but you want them to take Kyle Pitts because unless there are if there are massive trades that move teams up into 5, 6, 7 and take the quarterbacks off the board, then whatever. You lost out, but it pushed the best players after Kyle Pitts back to you at 8. It's a win. If the 5, 6, 7 teams, Cincinnati, Miami, Detroit, don't trade back and don't take quarterbacks, great. The trade value of your pick just increased dramatically, which is great news as well. If there is a Justin Fields and or Trey Lance sitting on board at number 8, yeah, New England is a likely team to trade up into that 8th spot. So yeah, I think if you're Carolina, you're hoping Atlanta takes Kyle Pitts, pushes those quarterback back, increases your trade value dramatically. If they don't trade back, then you're going to end up being just fine at that point because you're going to have the best players on the board, players that honestly should have been off the board at 4, 5, 6 are going to be available at 8.
Standing by.
Outstanding.
So my question is, if you're a fan of a team and they have no pick in the first round, is it hard to be excited about the draft? Because Kansas City traded away their first round pick for a tackle, and I'm glad they did it because they got a good tackle. But they don't have a first round pick. So luckily, even though I've been chastised for this, I have 2 favorite teams, so I can watch for the Panthers. So I feel sorry for anybody who only has one team and one reason to watch, and that team doesn't have a pick in the first round. Let's say like someone whose name is Mark or something, who doesn't get it, that it's okay to have a team in the NFC and a team in the AFC.
I don't think you're excited to watch if you don't have a pick, but you're compelled to watch, right? Because don't you want to know what the Raiders do? Don't you want to know what the Chargers do? Don't you want to know what your divisional rivals do? Don't you want to see what Tampa does with 32 since they're a Super Bowl contender for you guys? Like, don't you still have to watch to know what you're getting into next?
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not going to watch, but I think it takes some of the excitement out of it because you're waiting, you're 2 picks away, and you know that your team's coming up, and you're thinking, hey, maybe they'll trade up, and especially when the pick that's on the clock, the team doesn't do anything, and you see them on the phone, and you know that they're trading, and you think, hey, maybe my team's trading in here, all that kind of fun stuff. But I don't think Kansas City will trade back into the first round. We'll see. Maybe as it gets closer and gets further down, if someone drops, maybe they'll do that. But if not, I have to, and I'm going to watch, but it does take some of the excitement out of it. There are some people who watch this, and this is a holiday. I have a buddy who will usually take a day off. We'll take a day off just because of the draft. 1 minute. I guess another way to look at it is if you're a fan of a college team, maybe you watch to see where those players go.
Yeah, I mean you can watch it for them as well.
Because I'm trying to debate what shirt do I wear tomorrow, and yes, I actually consider what shirt am I wearing because it's draft time. So I think I'm going to save the Chiefs gear for Friday and maybe wear some Ohio State gear tomorrow, in support of Justin Fields.
Oh yeah, I'm it's all Saints gear tomorrow for the 28th pick in the NFL draft.
Come back.
Yep.
He's not messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonzo and you to the phone lines. We go to welcome in during our weekly Wednesday Greenville Triumph segment. Honored to have the head coach, the man with the clipboard. That's more of a football phrase. Well, the other football phrase. But you know what I'm talking about. Coach John Harkes of your 1-0 undefeated Greenville Triumph, sharing the top of the table with a full 3 points this weekend after a 1-0 win over the Richmond Kickers. Courtesy, thank you very much, the thank you notes in the mail of an own goal, but one that I thought was well-deserved. Coach Harkes, welcome back to the show, man. Great to have you.
Hold on just a moment because it will not let me click on the button. I've used a hammer on it and I cannot get it to
the phone button.
Yes, the phone button.
Well, that seems not ideal for an interview segment. All right, so we'll technical difficulties. Please stand by. We'll get Coach Harkes on here. If you can hear me, Coach, hang on just a second. We're working on it. Zoe said he took a hammer. I didn't see him use an actual hammer. But if we can't get this to work, then I might suggest that he do.
I got it.
All right. There we go. Now we get him on the line. I think we're good now. Coach Harkes, welcome back to the show, man. Great to have you.
Great to be here. And, I enjoyed that introduction, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mel. I love it. Fantastic.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And well earned. Let's start, Coach, with what happened last weekend. Then we'll look ahead to this weekend's match back home at Legacy early. I was really impressed by this squad. You talk about adversity. Cesar Murillo gets sent off with his second yellow card. The referee in charge, I thought, being very liberal with his issuance of cards throughout the game. But, hey, maybe I'm being nitpicky. And your Triumph have to play a full half and some extra minutes down a man. Talk about adversity in the rain on the road to open the season and yet fought through it and got the win. You must be very proud of those guys with that first dub.
Yeah, very proud, actually. And I agree with you 100%. There's, I've said it from day one. One of the things that when we were first talking about working together with Joe Irwin and Greenville Triumph and building this club was that I wanted to get a team out there that not only can entertain for the upstate and make sure that the community is proud of, but that we have this grit about us, that we have this, never say die kind of attitude. And the guys showed it, on Saturday night in torrential downpour rains, 10 men, as you say, all against the odds. You could throw a little Phil Collins in the background if you want, but it was just a great result. And the guys, they fought through it. And, even at times with the man down, we're the better team. So I like that. I like seeing that promise. I like seeing those positive signs, from a group that doesn't have this kind of negative, thought process. Oh, we're down a man. We better really concede space on the field and drop off. And we went for it and we did well. And the guys, we put them in a compromised situation. We got the own goal, which was great, but it wasn't because we were lucky. It was because, Lachlan McLean and Abdi and the way we drove ourselves into the box and put them under pressure, it forced them into that situation. And that's what we talked about at halftime, is just wait for your moment. Be patient in the process and be mature in the way that we compete and play. And the guys really brought it on Saturday night. So really good to get 3 points like that in those circumstances.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. I was talking about the match a little bit on Monday, Coach, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I saw as well. We see a lot of teams who go down a man. They kind of back up. They give some space. They really decide that they're going to play in the defending third, kind of try to just limit opportunities for the other team to pull away. But you guys were still executing really well. The runs were there. The angles were there. That cross that went into Lachlan McLean, who found his way around the backside on the diagonal run. Andrew Booth put it in there right on the foot. I told the folks I was watching the game with some of the Riot members and with Doug, and I said that goal, even if it's an own goal, was a very well-deserved goal because I thought in a spot where the back would the back of the Greenville Triumph was against the wall, you guys still executed in the face of adversity, which I think speaks volumes about, Coach, the way that you have gotten this team ready, but B, the mental composition of this team had to be very impressed by that.
I'm very impressed, and it's great to see that, you see that you're able to pick that out because actually the way that sequence started is one of our patterns on the training ground. It comes from Dallas J. We look to go to the left, and then we want to switch the point of attack. Dallas pings the ball in. We compete for the ball. Andrew Booth wins that first header. It goes to Abdi Mohammed. He takes his time, and he actually engaged Lachlan to make that run. He forced Lachlan to make that run in behind. And Lachlan McLean, his second half, not just his first half, digging in and fighting up front on his own as the lone striker, he makes that sacrificial run in behind. And that ball that Abdi plays him is right on the money. And so he's able to hook it first time into a dangerous area. And, we talk about it often. It's in every sport. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And if you don't put the ball into a dangerous area, you're not going to create any havoc in there. You're not going to put the team under pressure. And Lachlan did put that ball into a dangerous area, and it caused havoc. So that's where mistakes are made. But that comes from the training ground. That comes from a pattern that we support underneath, and we can build and find the game. So when it happened, all our coaching staff looked at each other. We just have to smile because sometimes it doesn't come off in games. But it came off right there at a really important time in that game.
Just on a personal note, Coach, and not to get you in trouble with any powers that be that listen, but did you agree? I didn't. Listen, the second yellow card on Cesar Murillo, I guess a bit understandable. I mean, it's a pretty heavy contact, but I thought there were a few that were kind of thrown out throughout that match that almost unfortunately kind of took away from the rhythm of the match. A, is that the case? And B, how do you keep the guys' momentum? How do you keep them in rhythm when the game's being broken up with cards the way that it seemed to be on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are going to be times. It's a great point you bring up. There's going to be moments, in games where the referee's not always going to be in right positions on the field to make a call, or maybe the emotions, the fans that were back in the seats there, we're at City Stadium at Richmond. They always have a good support base. They have great fans. So the reaction to Cesar Murillo's, stand and kind of the player Bolaños, he baits the referee into it. He sells it extremely well. The first one, I hold Cesar accountable, and he and I talked about it this morning. He picks up the ball. He tries to delay the game. He's holding on to it too long. He doesn't really give the referee any choice but to give him a yellow. Unfortunately, it's a soft yellow. It's a soft one, but sometimes players, you're already putting yourself, it's like athletes when they say, oh, he got into trouble late at night in a bar at 2 a.m, but it wasn't his fault. Well, what's he doing there? You put yourself in that situation. So he's put himself in that spot with the referee. Now, the second one, it could be, the referee, the emotion of the crowd, it kind of incites everything in that moment, and he gives him a second yellow. Once he gives the first one, now he has to stay consistent and give the second one. So whether it be to the other team or us or anything, he has to do that. So you always got to be careful not to give yellows too early in games. You got to manage the game as a referee. You got to talk to players. You got to calm them down, and you got to set the tone. So I think he could have done a better job than what he did on that night. And also in the second half, he gave a yellow card to Abdi Mohammed, and we had actually tried to explain to the referee staff that Abdi is Somalian and he practices Ramadan religiously. So he didn't eat or drink anything the whole day prior to that match. And so at that specific time when he was taking the throw-in, he was able to take a drink of water, which we put on that side of the field for him. So when he took a drink of water, the referee said he was wasting time and gave him the yellow. So we're like, that doesn't make sense. We actually gave you a heads up on that please respect that. He wasn't wasting time. I mean, so some of those things, like, yeah, I get to fill out a report. I get to send it into the league. They'll look over it. Maybe they'll take my thoughts on the game and that maybe they'll change their mind and rescind one of the yellows. I don't know, but we'll see.
We'll keep an eye on that. Coach John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joining us. Other end of the field before we switch over to Saturday's game. Defensively, very, very impressive. Richmond really had difficult times moving the ball effectively into any positions to create opportunities. They recorded 2 shots on goal and recorded less shots in the second 45 minutes with 5 than in the first 45, despite the fact that they were up a man for the entire half. I mean, look, it was great to see Lachlan and Andrew and these guys moving forward and attacking, but your defensive lineman, and it wasn't just a park the bus style mentality. They were sticking on ball. The marks were there. I don't know about you, Coach. I was blown away by how efficient the defensive, the back line was, especially when they had their backs against the wall there for a half.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of the things that we stress at halftime is we have an exercise that we've got to go through. We do it in training. We prepare the guys. Like, there's times where you're playing a man down. Let's see how our shape is, how we are connected to each other. Number one, how much discipline we can have, and let's see if we can still keep the ball, even though we're a man down, still keep the ball and make them chase the game at times. So it was a combination of both that we saw. There were still times where I thought we could have done a better job in their attacking. Our attacking third, their defensive third, of keeping the ball a little bit more. But you gain, a lot from that game. The way that we tucked in individually, winning our one-on-one challenges, collectively as a group, staying connected in our shape. And, Dallas J was smart because he's not the goalkeeper back-to-back years for no reason. He was able to, in wet conditions, not only come out for, and diffuse a lot of situations on crosses into the box, he's punching them clear. There are times where maybe 2 years ago, Dallas J would have tried to catch some of those, and it might have bobbled or slipped out of his hands. He didn't take any chances at all. He was clearing it, big-time clearances. And that set the tone for our defense. Max Hemmings went in there for Evan Lee, who picked up a calf injury during the week. And he was just fantastic. He was on Team of the Week, as well as Noah and Tyler Pollock, Noah Pilato in the midfield. So a lot of guys stood out and did their jobs extremely well. But collectively as a group, yeah, we were all on the same page there, and it was a great effort.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So we turn ahead, Coach. We got back to Legacy early on Saturday evening. Fans in attendance, I believe it'll be 1,500 to 1,700 people that are allowed in the stadium. Championship celebration taking place, which, by the way, Coach, I heard you had a devilishly handsome MC for that championship event on Saturday. So the crowd is going to be buzzing. It's going to be electric. Preparing yourself for Saturday. How do you get ready for the mindset of, hey, not only are we back home, but we're back home really for the first time in a year and a half in front of a decent sized crowd with what's almost going to feel like the first normal home game in quite a while.
Yeah, pretty handsome MC, as you said. Do you know who it is? I'm not 100% sure.
I've heard rumors.
Can we make that announcement now to the public?
I've heard rumors that he is tall, dark, handsome, mysterious, and I'll just leave it at that for right now, Coach.
Oh, so Morgan Freeman's going to be there?
Yes, that's exactly right.
All right.
Bradley Cooper will be in the building.
I love Shawshank Redemption. Fantastic film. Well, we're happy to have you always. And, coming home and opening up at Greenville Triumph Stadium at Legacy Early College is going to be huge. We're excited. We know that we get an opportunity to get some fans back in. A lot of our staff and a lot of our players have been vaccinated. I know that more people in the upstate are getting vaccinated. So we want to let, our supporters and our fans that are on the outside looking in that are really like, hey, Greenville Triumph, they've won the championship last year. Let's see what they got this year. We want to make sure that they feel safe coming there and we provide a good environment. Our front office staff does an excellent job of really hosting on game day. So, we make it a fun time, and plus the entertainment on the field. Our food vendors, our partners that are there at the stadium are absolutely out of this world. It really is a great time. And you got to bring the family out. People that are listening right now, if you haven't been to a Triumph game, get there on Saturday night. We're playing against North Texas. We met them in the final in 2019. We've been in the championship final back-to-back years. North Texas, we beat them last year at home. They want to come in, and believe me, they want to get after us. So it is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard game for us. They are part of the Major League Soccer system with FC Dallas. They probably have a few players on their roster that play within that Major League Soccer first team as well, that may be on loan with the North Texas side. So it's going to be a high-level game, and we're looking forward to it. We really are.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. You mentioned a little bit of a rivalry game here with North Texas after that first championship match a couple of years ago. Coach, what should we be looking for on the pitch? I mean, we saw a solid 37 minutes of full man football last week, but obviously you got to switch things up, a little more conservative when you're down a man. What should we expect to see out of the side coming up on Saturday evening that might be some things you worked on since last Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, from a tactical standpoint, we start fresh, right? We've got a full amount of players out there. We're at home. We want to get the crowd behind us. The Reedy River Riot, our supporters group, is going to be there. La Familia, another supporters group that's there. We want to make sure we come out of the gate, hot. We high energy, looking to put a little bit of pressure on North Texas. Don't let them feel comfortable coming into Triumph Stadium at Legacy Early College. So, we want to start fresh, and we'll get back to our system. Maybe looking at a 4-4-2, a 1-4-4-2, obviously, with the keeper Dallas J in there. Two strikers. Marius Lomas had to come off at halftime. From a tactical, sacrifice, I had to pull one of our strikers there. Lachlan McLean stayed on. But look, I mean, there are options. We could play a 4-3-3 as well and play a number 10 role and slide Don Smart in there in central position because he's a very intelligent man. No pun intended with his last name is Smart, but he really makes unbelievable decisions on the field for us. So, there's a couple ways we can go about it in formation. We know that they come with a lot of skill, individual, fast, talented players. And, when we stick together as a team, we can compete with anybody in the league. So that's our goal, is to make sure that we don't approach the game individually and try to match up with the individual, egos out there. We got to make sure we stay collectively as a group and play our soccer.
Real cool. I'm glad you brought him up, and that, of course, is Don Smart made his debut with the Triumph this weekend. Got a couple of other new guys out there on the squad, Andrew Bincetta. How did you feel about the first match for the new additions to the roster?
I thought it was great, man. I thought guys, really fit in well. We saw that in the preseason. A lot of the games we played against DC United, Major League Soccer team in the first game. We drew 1-1. And that was when we first got, a look at Don, what he was like in our system. And also Marius Lomas, who came over. We were flying him in late. He was in Greece at the time. He's a Dutch player. He was with North Carolina SC in El Paso in the championship level last year and scores a lot of goals. So he's like a true number 9 up front that kind of sits there as a poacher. And technically he's very clean in front of goal. But, they've done really well. We've got a couple of injuries with Will Mejia. We didn't get to see Jesus Ibarra and now Alan Gavinales. We didn't get to see them on the pitch because of, again, the tactical positioning we had to do last week against Richmond Kickers. And then Evan Lee and Alex Morrell were both picked up injuries during the week. So they were on the bench, but I used them right at the end sparingly. So a lot of guys getting healthy now and the competition for places. So coaching staff, we've got a tough job in terms of making our decisions of what our starting 11 looks like.
John Harkes, head coach of your reigning, defending, undisputed USL League One champions. The quest for number 2 is underway Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Legacy Early College. Your boy will be in attendance. Coach cannot wait to get back in the early, cannot wait to get back behind the Triumph. Appreciate the time as always, man. We'll see you Saturday night.
Looking forward to seeing you and seeing everybody in the crowd supporting us. Thanks so much for having me on. Take
Always,
care.
Coach. Always. John Harkes, head coach of your Greenville Triumph. Quick break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon.
He's a good interview, Zoe. Like you basically ask Harkes like 2 questions and he just nails it every time.
Yeah, I've heard him on 2 different shows, this one and Mark Ryan's show early on. And yeah, he does a great job. Absolutely. He knows his stuff. At least I think so, because, because I don't know soccer. So I followed most of that.
So Diesel tells me yesterday that he wants to go to the soccer match Saturday night. So the Triumph were kind enough to give us 2 tickets and 2 media passes to come to the match. So we can bounce back and forth from the supporter section and then go watch them down on the sideline, whatever. And then Diesel tells me that it is his better half's sister's baby shower at like 4:00. And apparently this baby shower is going into the night, so now he can't go. I was like, dude, sideline passage and you can't go?
Well, again, I would go with you, even though I don't like soccer, but I do have, something that I do every Saturday night. So
there's a
and now that there's only me on Saturday night, that kind of limits me on, can't really get a fill in or anything like that. So I already told my wife that I'll be going to that Spartanburgers game in a couple of weeks. So, and that I will probably be purchasing some stuff there. Now the question is, when we go, well, got to find out what time the game starts. Do you want to hit up a famous restaurant in Spartanburg before? Yeah, so.
Yes, I absolutely do. 100%.
Well, I'm down for all that. We just got to figure out where, when, and all that kind of stuff.
I'm guessing a weeknight game is going to be 7:00. That's usually when late night games or weeknight games are. So I could meet you in the studio. We could leave at like 5. What's it like 45 minutes to get to Spartanburg from here? 30? 35?
Probably. It's going to depend on if I want to leave from here.
Right.
Or if I want to because it's like halfway in between.
Yeah.
So
okay. So either way, we get over there at, I don't know, and I'll probably get over there around like 5:30. Give us time to sample a couple of different burgers.
We got time figured out. We got what, 2 weeks?
29 days.
Oh, it's that long. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking it was 2 weeks from now. We got plenty of time then.
Yeah.
30 seconds and engineering is in here, and they're going to fix my problem.
Love it.
.307. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
So I was telling Zoe during the break that on Saturday night for the first Triumph game, the Triumph were kind enough to provide us with a couple of tickets and a couple of media passes. And they did so because my dude Diesel, when I told him about the game Saturday, said he wanted to go. He's like, I'm in. Let's go. So I hooked Diesel up with a ticket. And the Triumph hooked Diesel up with a ticket and a media pass to come to his first Triumph match. It's the only sport he hasn't seen in person yet. So Diesel then found out that there is a baby shower on Saturday that he was previously committed to. And he thought he was going to be able to dip out of the baby shower a couple of hours early and then join us at the game. And then he was informed that that is not a thing that's going to happen. So now he is also going, he and Zoe both are now continuously promising me that they will come to a soccer game eventually. I will get them both out there. I will get them both there. But Keegan just said, in the name of cancel culture, quote, we should cancel men being invited to baby showers. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and break the hearts of a lot of women out there right now. No man wants to go to a baby shower ever.
Well,
they don't want to go to a baby shower, Zoe.
Are you sure?
Baby.
Are you sure? Because someone had an out and they didn't take it. Someone had a media pass. Someone had the opportunity to, and they didn't take it.
That was not Diesel didn't take the opportunity to get out of the baby shower. That was Diesel was informed he is not getting out of the baby shower. Now, in fairness, it's not like a work friend baby shower. Like, oh, my friend from work's having a baby. It's like his direct family. So it's a little closer. But ladies, I know there are literally thousands of you listening to the show. I'm just going to be the bad guy. No dude ever wants to come to a baby shower, ever. He doesn't want to come to his own baby shower. All right, we don't want to do it.
The fact that it's going on into the evening would imply that there are other things going on at the shower. If not, he's just going to be sitting there with his hands in his lap, going,
"Well, they're doing like a soccer game."
See, that's what I figured. So okay.
Even still, we don't want to come to a baby shower. We don't want to come to a baby shower. We don't. Last the last baby
unless
shower,
it's your own baby, then I get it.
The last baby shower I went to, Lonzo. Last baby shower I went to was for my goddaughter. 9 years ago. 9 years ago? I don't think. 9 years ago I went to one, and I was sold on because one of my very best friends in the world plays bass guitar. He knew me, and he's like, "Look, dude, I know you don't want to be there, but it's going to be a party. It's going to be this, and we're going to play drinking games."
I have breaking news.
Do you?
Yes, this is important breaking news. The Carolina Panthers have traded Teddy Bridgewater to the Broncos for a 6th-round draft pick.
There you go. Well,
I'm sorry I interrupted your baby showers, but that's important.
No, that is mucho importante. Let's do this. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's talk about it. Breaking news: Teddy Bridgewater sent to Denver for a 6th-round pick. Let's talk about that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Okay.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Our friends at QC Kinetics. Orthobiologic non-surgical regenerative therapy. Yes, that's a lot of words, but they're all very important. Non-surgical being the one that you want to put the big green highlighter next to. You feeling bad? You got those aches, those pains in the joints, in the muscles? You don't want to get cut open. You don't want to deal with that, so don't. Regenerative therapy. Why is it regenerative? Well, it's regenerative because it takes your body's, the tissue that goes in your joints, your knees, your shoulders, your hips, your lower back, around the vertebrae and all that. You have tissue in there that is evolved in order to keep those joints flexible without pain. But as you get older, that tissue, just like everything else, erodes and wears down. And then you start getting parts and bits and pieces rubbing against each other, and it inflames. It's just not good. And that's where that pain comes from. They regenerate that tissue. They start letting that tissue build itself back up and get rid of the inflammation and the pain. That's what QC Kinetics does, and it works. Go to their website, QC Kinetics, QCKINETIX.com, QCkinetics.com. You can hear testimonials from dozens and dozens and dozens of happy, satisfied QC Kinetics patients who have gone through their regenerative therapy and come out the other direction, not hurting. And isn't that what you're asking for? QCkinetics.com, or give them a call today right here in Greenville at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that free consultation underway. It's QC Kinetics right here in Greenville. They still have Drew Lock under contract right now. Keegan, I would be interested to see if Teddy can beat Drew Lock out for that starting spot. I doubt that he will off the bat. I think here's what I hate for Teddy. I love the guy. He wants to be a starter. But I think at this point, Teddy's got to have come to the realization that he is he's a backup quarterback. He's just a backup now. I hate it for him, but he's a backup quarterback now, and I think that's what he's going to be in Denver.
But why would they trade for a backup quarterback? I guess you need one, but I just I think that they think there'll be competition.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to set it up as a competition. I have no doubt they're going to set it up as a competition. They're absolutely going to try to get him into a QB competition to take that spot from. And
does this take them out of the running of trying to trade up or do something to get one of the quarterbacks?
Yes.
So
yes, it does. And that is one of those things that, all right, Carolina, you restocked a 6th round pick, but you just decrease the number of teams that would be willing to trade up to get a QB. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know.
Does this mean the Panthers will try to pick up a quarterback in later rounds to have another backup in the fold?
I mean, they got to go get one, but I mean, I'm
like someone like Kellen Mond or someone like that.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, you're going to get a project quarterback is what you're going to get here.
Or do you use this as a reason for saying that you're going to get a certain quarterback who may be dropping?
I don't think drafting Justin Fields is the right move. Every draft pick should be dedicated to getting better in the next year or two, unless you are just committed to having a 17-game-long quarterback competition and telling them both, whoever plays better this year is our starting quarterback next year, and whoever plays worse is getting traded.
Some mock drafters are upset because now they have to change their mocks. You got time, and it ain't like it's the day of. It's just the day before. Even Laura Rutledge is throwing out there, Carolina taking a quarterback. See, so that thought is out there. So I'm not the only one thinking that. That makes me feel better. I'm in good company. 1 minute. Personally, I hope Teddy Bridgewater goes there, and they are embroiled in a quarterback controversy the entire year, and they just can't get it right because I don't like Denver.
Noted Chiefs fan Lonzo in breaking news doesn't like the Broncos.
Colonel Grudge, 30 seconds. Robert came in and fixed the phones by pushing a button. But I learned how to do something now. something that I was unaware of how to do.
By pushing a button.
No, there was a programming button that he pushed, and now I know how to do it.
Down at ESPNUpstate.com, and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show, local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Breaking news. If you missed it, Lonzo all over the game right now, son. Teddy Bridgewater traded, pardon me, to the Denver Broncos. The Panthers will pick up a 6th-round pick. The Panthers will still be on the hook for $7 million to Teddy. The Broncos will pay him 3 of the 10. According to Adam Schefter, though, Zoe and I were talking about this on the stream. Join our live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Ryan, Keegan, Steven, John, Andrew, and a few others Matt have been in there asking questions and chatting with us during the break. You can do the same thing. We were talking off the air in the stream about what this does. Adam Schefter reporting, Lonzo, that this does not take Denver out of the quarterback market, per one of his Broncos sources. That's kind of interesting because it does a couple things. Number one, it tells me that Drew Lock is still on the trade block for the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock may still get sent out of there. Number two, it says to me, Zoe, maybe they see Teddy as a 1-year gap holder for the quarterback they draft, right? They trade Drew Lock. Teddy B is your starter week 1, and he is he's your mentor for a Justin Fields. He's your mentor for a Trey Lance. I told Zoe during the break that, while it's good to get a 6th-rounder out of the deal and add one more back, you took a potential trademark partner out of the mix that could jump into that 8th spot for a haul. Maybe not. Maybe they see Teddy as the mentor for Justin Fields. Is that a possibility? We'll break this down further to open up the next hour of the Rob Brown Show. That's next. This is ESPN Upstate. In the restroom, right back.
man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The third hour of the big show is on the radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. And of course, the rest of the world. What's happening, y'all? Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine. The great Alonzo back in the ESPN Upstate palatial studios, in charge of button sounds, buttons, gears, levers, knobs, pulleys, and assorted other equipment required to get us on the show, and in charge of breaking news, as he did so eloquently just a few minutes ago. The Carolina Panthers have traded Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback, to the Broncos of Denver in return for a 6th-round pick. They will now get a 6th. The Broncos acquired Teddy Bridgewater. Carolina still on the hook for $7 million worth of salary to him. But the Broncos pick up $3 million of the 10 that is owed to him. And now we find ourselves in a spot where the Broncos have reacquired one of the picks they gave up for Sam Darnold. What does that mean? Well, there's a couple of ramifications to this trade. Great one. We start with this. We now know that the Denver Broncos, according to Adam Schefter, are still in the mix for a quarterback. They are still looking at potentially taking a quarterback in the first round of the draft. Now, what does that mean? First off, the Panthers are still very much a potential trade partner for the Broncos to jump up to number 8. And what makes it interesting to me is that Teddy Bridgewater, I think, Zoe, will be a fantastic mentor for Justin Fields. Very similar game. Teddy be a guy that can get outside the pocket when his knees are good, can get outside the pocket and make some things happening. But he's also very much a guy that is quite capable of extending plays like Justin Fields, though it's not his first option. It's not the direction he wants to go first. Justin Fields, I think, the same way. A guy who is capable of getting outside of the pocket, extending plays, but not a guy who wants to go to that first. That's a really good potential mentor. Teddy gets one more shot at being a starter to impress other teams down the road that might acquire him back from Denver if he has a really good year and they still decide to hand the reins over to Justin Fields. So I started, my gut reaction was, okay, Carolina, yeah, you got a 6th-rounder back, and you offloaded Bridgewater, but you just decreased the number of potential trade partners in that 8th spot down by 1. But though it looks like Carolina knew what they did, knew what they were doing, it does not appear that is the spot that they are in. It does not appear that that's the spot that they're in. Looks like they may have kept Denver on the dance floor and made the Justin Fields pick, should he fall to 8, that much more attractive. He's not going to go much further down than number 8. If you're Carolina, I think you're trying to convince Denver that Bill Belichick definitely wants him, that, there's 2 or 3 other teams that would be willing to take a flyer. Tampa Bay could trade up. That's not going to happen, but I've heard that a rumor a couple of times. Either way, though, if I'm Carolina, I'm trying to convince Denver, hey, somebody's going to get Justin Fields at 8. You might want to go ahead and make it you. Trade back just a slight little amount. You're still in a great position for guys like Patrick Surtain, like J.C. Horn, Rashawn Slater, some of the other needs filling players that are there, and you picked up a couple extra picks. So I got to tell you, man, I'm trying to find ways to criticize Carolina because I feel like I'm starting to get to the point where I sound like I'm a homer who's just full of love. I'm not even a Carolina fan. I'm a Saints fan. I just am really impressed by how this is playing out for the Panthers.
I have to agree. Maybe this entices Denver to move up one spot, and you've already conducted business with Denver, and maybe this is already on the table. Hey, you need to move up that one spot if the quarterback you want is still there. So you move up, you give us a couple more picks. Teddy Bridgewater going to Denver, though, it's kind of intriguing because I don't know if it necessarily means they're going to go for a quarterback. Maybe you think Teddy still has something in the tank, but you almost have me convinced that that's what it is, that they're going to take Justin Fields and Teddy will be the mentor for him. And Teddy probably will be the starter for the majority of this season.
Yeah, Denver's out of contention. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so it's looking that way. I'm excited about this. Our first breaking news as far as trades go in a while since the Miami thing. We'll see if anything else happens between now and tomorrow before the actual draft starts.
Now, somebody asked me a second ago, why would Denver trade up one spot? Well, the answer is if you're Carolina, you also have to be selling Justin Fields if he makes it to 8, or Trey Lance if he makes it 8, or Mac Jones if he makes it to 8. You got to be selling these quarterbacks as last resort options, and you've got to make it clear to Denver, you're trading back to somebody, right? You have to be committed. You are trading back. If you give Denver even the slightest inclination that you're actually going to make a pick at 8, they got no need to trade with you, right? If you're going to take Zertan or Slater or Sewell or Horn or anybody else at number 8, if you're going to take a player, there's no need for Denver to trade back. You've got to be committed to trading back if you want that trade to make. You need to be, even if it's just for the sake of getting the Adam Schefters of the world to send out that one tweet, that changes everything, right? All I need is Shefty to send out a tweet that says the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots have engaged in serious trade discussions about the number 8 slot. Because I need Denver to know somebody's getting that 8 spot. And somebody's taking Justin Fields with it if he's available. It's the only way it justifies a move up for the Broncos. The only way it justifies a move up for the Broncos.
Well, according to David Newton of ESPN, the Panthers saved $6 million in salary cap space this year and $26 million in 2022 by trading Teddy Bridgewater. So it's a good trade all the way around.
Sure. By the way, just for funsies, Sam Darnold's getting paid $4.7 million to quarterback for the Panthers this year, and Teddy Bridgewater's getting paid $7 million to not quarterback for the Panthers this year. So between this and between all of the head coaches that are getting paid millions of dollars a year to not be a coach, I really need to get into the business of the not a thing profession because I clearly messed up somewhere.
Yeah, if only radio worked that way.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, boss, if you want to pay me $1 million a year, I'll do a discount. If you want to pay me $250,000 a year to sit home and not do my show anymore, I accept the proposition. Don't think it's coming down the pipe anytime soon, but I accept the proposition. So we will keep an eye on this. We'll keep on where this comes from and where this goes for Teddy B. Again, I think Teddy B H2O is your is your starter in Denver, but I think this lines up really well with the speculation that Denver might be in the mix for Justin Fields, which I think that's the pick. I think that's the pick. Does it benefit Carolina if and only if you can convince Denver? And then, by the way, find another team that wants to move up to that spot. If there are no other dance floor partners, if there's no other teams that are looking for that 8 spot at that point, then you're stuck. You're taking a player and Denver's getting Justin Fields at 9, which, all right, whatever. Somebody's getting him. It doesn't matter if and you keep him in the AFC. Great. But if you're Carolina, I think you better be on the train right now of trying to convince Denver, trying to convince New England, and a handful. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the rumor Lonzo. There is a rumor circulating on Twitter amongst some names, not like floating amongst the dregs of Twitter where I hang out. There are some names that are saying that the Baltimore Ravens are interested in trading up to acquire Justin Fields and have a competition between Lamar, just a year ago, the MVP of the NFL, Jackson, and Justin Fields, because they believe it will either push Lamar to be better or that Justin Fields might ultimately be better than Lamar Jackson, which I'm not going to say he's not, but I'm certainly not going to say he is.
Who's a better passer between the two?
I'm going to...
I think the long pause pretty much answers the question.
It's just one of those things where I don't know that I can say who's a better NFL passer.
Yeah, because you're not. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right? Now, if you ask me who the better college passer was, it's Justin Fields. But if you ask me who the better college athlete was, it's Lamar Jackson. And if you're an NFL GM, now you've got to sit there and decide, all right, am I looking for a guy who is a better college athlete or a better college passer? If you're just looking for the better college passer, it's Justin Fields. But Lamar Jackson did things on the college football field that have translated to the NFL field that are unbelievable.
Only because he had a coach smart enough to realize that he couldn't adapt to his kind of offense, and instead he adapted to the player's offense and took advantage of what he does well, which is what, a lot of coaches need to do. But the NFL caught up with that. It worked for a while, and that's just not going to work anymore. And maybe those rumors, maybe there's some truth to it because they realize that themselves. Sure. Although I think I saw they picked up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, yes, they did, or they're in the process of about to be doing it. But yeah, listen, you have to be able to be a good passer, a quarterback in the NFL. You can't listen. Even Mike Vick was a very good passer. I mean, well above average passer. If you're going to be an athletic quarterback, you still got to be able to throw the ball better than average. Do the Ravens believe that Lamar Jackson is caught up with? Do the Ravens truly believe that Lamar Jackson has been figured out by the rest of the league? And if they have, and if this is true, and if they indeed are going to be willing to trade Lamar to bring in Justin Fields, if they can guaranteed get the guy, Carolina's in that mix too. There's probably, let's say 4, maybe 5 teams between 9 and 32. There are 4 or 5 teams between 9 and 32, Lonzo, that are genuine potential trade partners for the Carolina Panthers at number 8, if they are committed to trading back. If they're committed to trading back. And for me, like I said, I would be. I would absolutely be committed to trading back. And if this is a true story, the Ravens are in. For the Ravens to trade back from their spot to number 8, so that's going to take a small fortune, man. It's going to take a small fortune. Because you got to convince... Because here's the thing about trading back to where the Ravens sit right now. If you are going to trade back with Baltimore and end up taking their spot at 27, a lot of the target players for Carolina, Patrick Surtain, J.T. Horn, Rashawn Slater, Penei Sewell, so those guys are all gone. They're all gone at 27. 27, you got a whole new sheet of potential players to draft at 27 as opposed to 8. So the Ravens would have to come off a lot more in order to move there, which makes, to me, Denver, New England, those teams in the teens we've been talking about, makes them far more likely trade partners on Thursday night. But if I'm Carolina, as we mentioned yesterday, I am not expecting the playoffs this year. Or at least I'm not for Carolina. I'm not expecting the playoffs this year for the Panthers. I'm expecting to start making that push for them next year. So a haul of picks, even if you don't get one of the definite target up top draft guys this year, Zoe, I'd still take a haul of picks from the Ravens for later on in this draft for early in the draft next year, because next year is the year that you're gunning for the playoffs. I can work with that. I can work with that.
Unless you're Matt Rule and you believe that you're going to make them this year.
True. Which you should not do that. You just should not do that.
If Sam Darnold had been on the Panthers team this past year, would they have won more games?
If Sam Darnold had been on the Panthers, yes. Yes, they would have.
Would they have been in contention to be a playoff team?
No, but that is less about the Panthers and more about the Saints and the Buccaneers, right? The
reason why I'm asking this question, because if you're the coach and you believe that, then you believe you're going to make the playoffs this year. Especially this year with Drew Brees retiring. You still got Tampa Bay there, but New Orleans should be and probably will. I know you hate to hear it, but they probably will be down while they're trying to find themselves with a new quarterback, even though he did have LASIK surgery and can see now.
Yeah, the Saints are coming back to the pack. No doubt about it. You're absolutely right. The Saints are coming back to the pack. Tampa Bay ain't. But let me ask you this, though. Here, I'll let you answer this so I don't come across as biased. Right now, you got to put a paycheck down on who ends with a better record. New Orleans, Carolina. Take your pick.
Not as easy as you think. It's not, but right now I would go with New Orleans.
I would too.
Because there are too many holes with the Panthers and too many things that we don't know, including if I get a fully healthy Christian McCaffrey and he's going to be there all season, I think that ups their chances. But again, if Jameis doesn't throw interceptions, New Orleans is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, if he turns 30 touches, 30 picks into 30 touches, 12 picks, that's a good ball club. That's a good ball club. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We'll keep talking about some draft day stuff. Got some questions on the text line I will answer as well. The Ingles Market text line is open for you at 71307. And don't forget, ESPN Upstate is your home for live NFL draft coverage. On Thursday, we start at 7. On Friday at 6, we'll carry all 7 rounds live on your home for comprehensive NFL draft coverage. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or
Check your messages. Did you see the message I sent you?
Yes, I will do that when we come back.
Okay.
I didn't see it till we were going to break.
If not, there may be emails. We don't want emails.
Do not want emails. Emails.
I like Keegan's idea, by the way.
You like
I like Keegan's idea about the breaking news. It doesn't have to be in that exact style, and I can do that if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely, I am.
Yeah, I can do that. And
put us a breaking news sounder with that, and then like some.
No,
just that.
That's all we need. Yeah. Because too much is going to interrupt you. But if you hear that in the background, then you're going to know that there's breaking news. And, I didn't say I wouldn't make it bombastic and, just completely obnoxious. Because I probably will make it obnoxious. It has to stand out to the point where, we realize that it's, earth shaking.
Well, Lonzo, if there's one thing that we've never been described as on my show, it's obnoxious.
Yeah, never. Not us. We don't do that. Also, just some more inside, because we're giving the fans what they want. You did see the email about the deadline, right?
Yes. Aside from still looking through some content, what else do you need from me to? Do you need me to?
Listen, I would tweak what we have and send it in.
Okay.
But it still comes down to the fact of me not being here and not knowing. So if there's something that you absolutely want in there, you give it to me and I will work it in. And then if we have to debate what needs to go, we can do that. There's a couple of things I think could go. But as far as that goes, me not being here will factor in. Next year won't be a problem. Because, man, I already got stuff for next year. And plus,
we've already got our 2022 award submission ready.
Oh yeah, we're ready to go. Plus, if I turn it in now, there's no guarantee it gets approval from who needs to give approval. He may go, okay, no, you need to fix this. You need to fix this. He's been known to do that.
We will see, I suppose.
I have reached a point where I don't have to tweak as much. In the beginning, there were 10 revisions for things.
That seems like too many.
I think some of it was just to have fun with me, which I don't. If I had that power, I'd probably do that to me too. No one grovels and looks uncomfortable the way I do. 30 seconds. Coming back. Don't forget that liner.
Audible.com.
Opinions wanted.
Well, opinions are like, well, say everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
So we read that breaking news for you. Teddy Bridgewater sent to Denver in return for a 6th-round pick. Carolina still on the hook for $7 million. Denver on the hook for $3 million, but it opens the door for Carolina to make some moves, pick up the 6th-rounder, and still keep Denver in contention. By the way, breaking news on ESPN Upstate is powered by Odyssey.com Sports and presented by BetQL. Become a better sports bettor. Get smarter to beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. It is Odyssey.com Sports and BetQL. So a couple of other messages on the Ingles Market text line at ESPN. Did y'all just break the Teddy Bridgewater news before ESPN? I'm not going to say that we did, Lonzo. I am going to say I heard us before I saw it anywhere else. So, except for wherever Lonzo got it from. Inside sources, man. We got sources, Zoe. Hashtag sources.
I will never reveal my sources.
Mine's Twitter. It's just always Twitter.
All right, so I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, that's what I did. It's one thing about Twitter, there are a lot of trolls, there are a lot of things that I'm just not too happy about, but it seems to be the place where news is broken first. So,
I mean, not saying, just saying. At ESPN, update on the Geriatric Boxing Association. Mike Tyson now scheduled to fight Lennox Lewis in September. That's a fight, Lonzo, that would have been great in 1999. That'd have been a great fight in the late 90s. In 2021.
That was a fight that was rumored to happen. So,
Yeah. At ESPN, 2 questions. A, what do you shoot in golf? And 2, what is the hoodie gonna do this year? I'm not even gonna lie to you, I'm a mid-90s guy. All right. If I can keep it, if I get into the low 90s, I had a good day. There have been some excellent rounds where I've been at 89. All right. I'm not a good golfer. I love to golf. I enjoy golfing. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I'm not good at it, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. All right. I shoot 93, 94, and fireball. That's what I shoot.
Have you improved? Are you having a good time? You're not competing against anybody. You're competing against a course. And if you're happy with what you did, good for you.
No, I don't improve. I'm as bad every round as I was the one before.
So you're consistent.
I have a great day on a golf course, man. I have a great time. Here's my brother and I talked about this at one point. So
do you heckle?
Oh yeah. Well, if I know you, if we're friends,
okay, all right, okay.
Friends, I'll talk junk. But it's also because I'm bad, right? I'm not shooting 72 and talking smack.
No booty touching with the club while someone's swinging or anything like that. Okay, all right.
Backswing, but if you duff a punt, if you blade it, if you absolutely scream a blade up over the green, yeah, you're gonna hear it. And that's only because, Lonzo, I have my own insecurities doing the same thing all the time.
Have you ever went in the water after a ball or a club?
I don't talk junk about a guy's shot until I've hit the shot from the same spot, right? Like if we're driving and you go up and you stick one into the pond off the big stick, I'm not going to say a word about it then, because if I do, 96% chance my ball's following it right into the exact same lake every time. But if you duff it in the water and I go out there and I stick that thing 280 in the center of the fairway, yeah, I'm blowing up the swim floaties that I brought just to make fun of you.
All right, I'm full of golf questions here. If you let someone play through, can you comment as they're taking their shots? Is that poor form?
No, if I'm letting you play through, it's because I don't want to be around you.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to be either. Like if you're all up on my back to the point that I feel I need to let you play through, it's at that point that I'm just like, you know what? You're bothering me. Just go away. I'm not going to make fun of you because that means I have to have a conversation with you. Now, if I meet up with, like, if I'm out there playing by myself and I meet up with another solo and we decide to run a couples out there, but usually by 3 or 4, if you're playing golf, usually by 3 or 4, the inhibitions are gone, right? Because if you're the dude that shanks an iron into a neighborhood 2 blocks away, you don't care what the person that you are playing with judges you for when you scream an obscenity into the heavens, right? You don't care anymore if you're playing golf. Those inhibitions go out the window. And if you're comfortable enough that I can scream an S-bomb after I tank a drive into the rough stuff off to the left of the fairway on a nasty hook, then I feel like I'm also comfortable enough at that point to go ahead and make fun of you and expect to be made fun of in return.
Well, as we know, I don't drink, but I'm curious, do you have a minimum while you're on the course, or does the day of the week factor in there?
A minimum, like how many beers I have?
Yes, while on the course.
No, I don't have a minimum nor a maximum. I have whatever the precise round of golf calls for in that particular day. Now, if I'm going to play a Tuesday round in twilight and I'm teeing off at 4:15 in the afternoon and I'm scrambling to get 18 in before the sun goes down, now I'm not banging down brewskis at that point. But if it's a Saturday round and we're hitting the tee box at 10 a.m. and it's kind of a leisure round where we're just really out there more to enjoy being outside and swinging sticks than actually playing for scores, I'm not down a 6er by the end of 18.
So I consider this a public service to anyone who's considering playing with Rob Brown. Now you know what you get.
Yeah, you're getting a 6-pack when we make the turn. That's what you're getting.
Well, I just mean all around. Your all-around game. You've told everybody what the experience would be like.
Yeah. I'm my golf game is the same as my Call of Duty's game. I suck, but I'm the comic relief in the group. That's what I bring to the table, Lonzo. I'm going to make you laugh while I'm bad at my job. 844 GSP ESPN. Let's do this. Let's take a break. I'll come back. I promise. There's been a bunch of you that have sent me draft questions. I'm going to run through all of them. Text your question about your team on the Ingles Market text line. I have gotten questions about the Patriots, the Steelers, the Packers, the Jets. So I'll answer those. Talk a little NFC South and more. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
Yes, Ben. Same. My sarcasm game on the course is it's the best part of my game. Mocking and sarcasm is what I bring to the 18, without a doubt.
Mocking and sarcasm is a wonderful thing. I just want to, one of the reasons why I pretty much only play video games multiplayer with my family is because I tend to make people mad. And I also burst into song for no reason, which people find, annoying when they're trying to be stealthy and listen for, other players and things like that. But luckily, when I'm playing with my son and my daughter, they both do the same thing. So. I also am very much Leroy Jenkins, which, people frown upon.
Leroy Jenkins! This is one of my favorite YouTube clips of all time.
I always wait, especially when I'm playing with my son. He's like, okay, we're going to do this. And then boom, I'm out. As soon as he starts giving instructions. And I can hear him screaming from the other room, what are you doing? Sometimes it actually works. 1 minute.
Text us anytime at 71307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
At ESPN, make me laugh while you're bad at something, so you golf like you radio. End quote. Well done, Texter. Well done. Well done. I approve. At ESPN, I've caught up to another single and made it a duo, but they'd have to at least buy me a drink before I made it a couples. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot the word duo. I just forgot the word existed.
Yeah, see, I'm not down with all the lingo for golf, and I was like, really? Is that what they call that?
I just forgot the word duo for a reason. I don't know why. All right, a couple of texts on the Eagles market text line 71307. You got a question about your team? Hit me with it, and let's have some fun, shall we? First question is ESPN from Big D. Do the Steelers go running back or offensive line? Which is the bigger need? Look, I would prefer offensive line, but in my mock draft right now, I've got you guys going running back, and it's more about the running because I do not like take running backs in the first round. I do not like to take running backs in the first round. It pans out far less often than you would think that it does. Most first-round running backs play for your team for 3 years, and then they move on, and you don't really get a huge return out of them early in their career. There are exceptions, but it is not the rule. However, I've got you guys going with the running back, and that is because running back Najee Harris from the University of Alabama is available. Could have entered the draft after his junior season, would have been probably a second, third round pick, stuck around, had a really good season and career. Nearly 4,000 yards, 46 touchdowns during his 4 years, averaged about a G a year, including 1,466 yards and 26 touchdowns in a standout senior campaign that ended with a national championship. But he's more than that. He is a phenomenal pass catcher out of the backfield. He is a very, very good pass protector. Najee Harris is not quite Derrick Henry, but he's pretty close. He goes 6'2", 229. Derrick Henry's a much bigger dude. No doubt about that. Derrick Henry goes 6'3", 238. So he's about 15 pounds heavier than Najee Harris. But Najee Harris, I think, is a better pass protecting running back. And I think with Big Ben, back there, you need that, right? Ben's not the guy that escapes the way that he used to be. On the mock I have set up today, and I will probably release, in fact, I'll give you my final mock draft tomorrow on the show before round 1 gets started. But on my mock as of right now, I got the Steelers going with a running back. Another texter says, ESPN, I hope Green Bay picks a quality wide receiver to get Devontae Adams some help. That is from Sherb. Sherb, appreciate that text, man. Thanks for checking in. Green Bay's kind of in an interesting spot, picking 29th overall. My mock draft, I've actually got you today taking a wide receiver. I've got you going Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. Remember yesterday we did our draft prop bets where I asked to go over under, and one of them was wide receivers taken. I set it at 5.5, and I took the under because I think there will be 5, and I think the last one will go to Green Bay, and that will be number 29 wide receiver Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. He is a dynamic playmaker. Similar to Brandon Ayuk last year, who went to LA, had a pretty good first year. This is the redemption pick. He has the potential to be a big play creator. And in the Packers offense, they need that role. Devontae Adams demands that coverages be shifted to him in order to limit his production. And what you're looking for in that spot, you are looking for a guy to play a role similar to, like, for instance, what Brandon Cooks used to be, and still can be, but the guy that you put on the opposite side of Devontae, and he opens up the field, right? You're going to shift coverage to Devontae's side. That's completely fine, but you better do better than one-on-one man-to-man coverage of Elijah Moore on the outside, because he will get behind you. He will create a big play. I like you going wide receiver. I think Green Bay, after that pick, will shift to focusing on the defense and the offensive line, but I think they go skill position player right out of the gate. I think that, and Elijah Moore being there is going to be a very good pick. I just realized that I did not answer the Patriots question from the last text. What does Hoodie do this year in the draft? Here's the thing. It's tough for me to mock the Patriots because, honestly, I think the Patriots are in the mood to make a move. Remember, that's why Hoodie stockpiles draft picks the way that he does. He uses them to make moves up and down the draft board for specific players that he likes. And I think you're going to see that again. Now, is it quarterback? Dunno. I have seen a number of mocks that have seen the Patriots pick up Kyle Trask, the 6'5", 240-pound quarterback out of the University of Florida, to come to New England. But there's still a lot of talk out there that the Patriots might decide to jump up the first day draft board, give away that second rounder in order to get a Mac Jones, in order to get a Trey Lance, or maybe even a Justin Fields. And that is, they are one more of the teams that's going to wait to make their move until as late as possible because they want to see who drops and where. Here's the thing you don't want to see. So what you don't want to see is a team like New England, who is drafting at number 13 in the first round. How dumb would you feel if you jump up to, I don't know, let's pick a number, 8, and you go hunting for a quarterback, and let's say you jump up and you take Justin Fields, and it's not that you could know this, but if you jump up and you get a Justin Fields at 8, and then Mac Jones and Trey Lance both make it to 13, well, dude, you just threw away a second-round pick, right, for no reason at all. You could have still had one of the high-graded quarterbacks at 13, unless you specifically want that guy, unless you specifically want that dude. I've got the Patriots taking a wide receiver in the first round. I've got them going Jalen Waddle. I love this guy. He's explosive, can contribute anywhere on the field. A little bit undersized. You know, we've been talking about Devontae Smith being undersized, checking in at about 180. Jalen Waddle's only 5'10", 185. So he's not the biggest guy, but he's incredibly fast and incredibly explosive. And if that ankle injury is in good shape, he could be an explosive player. But I'm not committing to that pick, Lonzo, because I don't think there's any chance that the Patriots are drafting at number 13 this year.
Well, the other thing is, if they move up to quarterback, they're not going to lose anything because you just talked about it, and we've seen year after year how Belichick is able to turn one pick into like 35. It just seems that way, how he's able to do that. And, year after year, they start compiling to the point where it seems like in later rounds, it's this team, then the Patriots, this team, then the Patriots. It just seems that way. And in the past, he's been able to use those picks and make them play well. Could you package Cam Newton in as a trade? I know no one wanted him when they brought him in as quarterback, or it seemed that way. If you wanted to move up, is that an incentive? If you threw in Cam Newton,
I don't think that. Yes, but I don't think they do. I think Hoodie is. If they weren't ready, if they weren't committed to Cam, they don't give him another 1 year. They'd just let him go.
But you just said it's a 1 year though. I mean, you can part with a 1 year pretty quick.
The other thing is who is going to be in a position that they want to take Cam Newton that's not already in a spot where they can't just jump up and grab a 19-year-old quarterback straight out of college that they can build on, right? Like you're looking at a Cam who's he's slipping and falling into his mid-30s now. And his style of play isn't a guy that's going to last to 40. Cam's got 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 good seasons left in him. Whereas if you get the correct QB future, you got 10, 12, 14, 15 good years out of that cat. Yes, it's a possibility, Lonzo, but I don't see any teams who would want Cam Newton as opposed to just making the trade to jump up and grab.
Well, what I'm saying is if you're on the edge of making this deal, and you need one last little thing to throw in there to get the deal to go, could Cam Newton push that deal over?
Yes, but again, depends on the partner, right? Because Cam's coming with a contract, and he's coming with what? He's coming with the belief that he's a starter, right? He's coming with the belief he's a starter. So you got to commit to this cat. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, what are the other 31 teams are in a spot where they would take that move? And I don't think the ones who need a quarterback that Cam would fill a need if they could just get him would be great. But I don't see any of those teams that wouldn't rather just draft Justin Fields or Mac Jones or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson if he falls past New York. Yes, he's absolutely a piece of trade bait. I just don't know who goes that direction. All right, let's wrap it up. When we come back, listen to this text, Lonzo. I don't even want to read this. Hey, Rob, per our golf conversation. Hey, Rob. Sex with 2 is a twosome. Sex with 3 is a threesome. Now we know why they call you handsome. Up next is Twitter trending topics. Zoe tells me what's trending on Twitter. I give you 30 to 45 seconds of what I know about it. That's next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN. Say, why do you think we're
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker.
Come and knock on our door. We'll be waiting for you.
Took me a second. I'm like, why is he singing that? And then I went back a minute, and then I realized why you were doing that.
Three's Company 2.
I would have thought you were a little young for that show, but I guess was it on like Nick at Night or something? Possibly.
Yep. Sure was. Which I used to watch all the time.
One minute.
1 minute.
Presents Twitter Trending Topics.
It is time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internets, and he will tell the entire world what he knows about it, which is vast and, beyond anything that anyone can believe. The first thing that is trending, Bank of America Stadium.
Bank of America Stadium is trending because it was also announced earlier today that up there in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium will be changing away from their natural grass surface and changing to AstroTurf. And it is because of the fact that in 2022, the MLS will introduce Charlotte FC. The Queen City Club will be making their games, making their home games at Bank of America Stadium, as well as the Panthers. And because of all of that, plus the other events coming up, they're afraid that the grass will not be able, the story is they're afraid that the grass will not be able to hold up with constant soccer games and a full football season as well. So Bank of America Stadium, which has been a natural grass surface starting this season in the NFL, will now be an AstroTurf surface, a turf surface moving forward.
Are the majority of soccer fields, are they turf or are they real grass?
Most of them are natural grass. Now in the MLS, it's interesting because a lot of the teams play on turf because they share stadiums with NFL sides, right? A lot, not all of them, but Seattle does, Charlotte FC will. And a lot of clubs have just chosen to go artificial turf, but most soccer fields internationally are natural grass.
All right, the next thing trending is Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice. I saw him trending earlier. I'm assuming today was either his birthday or the anniversary of his passing. Kimbo Slice was a bad man, just a bad man. I remember, though, when that dude was making his name and his money by going around and just getting into fights with random people at like backyard parties. Like he'd pay him $100 to fight him, right? And then he'd just wallet folks. Then he got into MMA. And what made me very sad about Kimbo Slice, though, was that by the time he got into MMA to be a legitimate fighter, which I think he could have been, his knees were shot. I mean, his knees were basically done at that point. So he was never really able to be a legitimate MMA fighter. Kimbo Slice could have been a bad man. If he would have got into organized fighting younger, earlier in his life, Kimbo Slice could have been one of the baddest dudes on the planet at an organized level. But man, when we were in high school and early college, when Kimbo was going around putting up videos of him just getting into fights with strangers, he was a sensation on the OG internet.
All right, so I couldn't figure out why he was trending, but I found this several times. People were saying they wish Kimbo Slice could be resurrected so he could beat up the Paul brothers.
Oh, and that's a fight that Jake Paul might be dumb enough to take. Really? Oh, I would give any amount of money to see Kimbo Slice just grind Jake Paul's stupid face into the canvas.
So I don't know if that's why it's trending, but I'm thinking that might be, since I found that several different times. And not even sure who the original tweet was from, but people were enjoying that for some reason.
I enjoy the thought of it, yes.
All right, the next thing that's trending is Ed Balls Day.
Is what?
Ed Balls Day.
Ed Balls Day. I may be about to make myself look bad, Zoe, but I don't know who or what that is.
Yeah, me either. But apparently it's supposed to be funny.
Ed Balls Day.
But it's been trending for most of the day. It's been trending, trends on this day every day for 10 years.
According to the New York Times, 10 years ago on Wednesday, a politician who was a significant figure in British politics but hardly an international star followed an aide suggestion. He loaded the Twitter app on his BlackBerry, searched for his own name to see what people were saying about him. Except for instead of searching for his name, he actually tweeted his name out. His name is Ed Balls. And so Ed Balls tweeted Ed Balls. And sometimes the internet likes to laugh at dumb things.
I can tell you that Mark Ryan, as he prepares for his show, is laying on the ground laughing right now. I guarantee you.
Well,
all right.
Ed Balls Day, everybody.
Yeah, especially to you, Mark Ryan. All right, the next thing that's trending is Jerry West.
Jerry West trended today. The logo, man. Jerry West. So,
for a reason that you didn't get to today, but you are going to.
I am going to assume, because of the fact that you said that, and we will do this tomorrow. I'm assuming that means that Jerry West was on Dr. J's all-time team ahead of LeBron James
and Michael Jordan.
Yes, Dr. J chose Jerry West over LeBron and Michael Jordan, which means that Michael Jordan is about to strap on a jersey and come back for another year to prove he's still better than Jerry West. I love Dr. J. Every single one of us that ever hung a Nerf hoop up on the back of their bedroom door did the Dr. J reverse scoop dunk, right? The reverse one-handed scoop dunk. We all did it. Dr. J's a legend. He's one of the greatest of all time. I love Dr. J. But his team is garbage. His team he put there. Listen, it's just garbage because LeBron's. You can hate LeBron as a dude. You can hate him as a basketball player. You can hate him for his political takes. You can hate him for his social takes. You can hate him because of his dumb tweets. You can hate him for whatever reason you want to hate him. But if you think that LeBron James ain't better than Karl Malone, you and I need to have a talk about basketball, big dog. We just do. I'm sorry. We just do. If you think Karl Malone's better than LeBron, I don't accuse people often and try to craft Lonzo and say, oh, you really don't because of this emotional thing. But if you think Karl Malone's better than LeBron, it's only because you hate LeBron. That's the only reason anybody would say Karl's better than LeBron.
I got to say, Karl Malone is better than LeBron James in the wrestling ring.
Sure. I'll give you that.
I'll put some money on that.
I'll give you that. But he ain't better than him on a basketball court.
All right. The next thing that's trending is Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain trending today. Of course, the old front man of Nirvana many moons ago. I don't know why specifically it's trending. I did see earlier that there's like a new, it's either exclusive or it's never been released before or something, but there is a photo shoot of Kurt Cobain before he passed away that is being released or something like that?
That's what it's called. The last session, and it's going to be sold as an NFT.
All right, I'm gonna need some of y'all like younger than millennial folks. Y'all gonna have to explain to me how non-fungible tokens work because I don't get it.
I brought this up just because I was hoping you would explain it to me. As an elderly person, I don't know.
So, an NFT, from what I understand, an NFT is a digital copy of exclusive artwork. So, if you buy an NFT, you are the owner of that artwork. It belongs to you, but it's only digital, right? And here's the thing. Even though you own that artwork, other people can still access it and see it. So, what?
All I know is that Cameron Grimes was trying to buy some, and stinking Ted DiBiase bought it before him.
Dude, I lost my mind when DiBiase showed up with the $1 million watch. Lost my mind.
It was awesome. It was definitely awesome.
All right, y'all, that's it. We turn it over to Mark Ryan for Offsides. Diesel joins along for that ride. For Lonzo, my name's Rob Brown. Thank you guys so much for listening. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. We appreciate it more than we can tell you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back to try harder tomorrow on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.